Oh, they getting in there. It's a Friday. Here on HBCU Coaches Corner Special Edition. I'm going to give them about 30 more seconds, and then we're going to get started. We gave 3 hours last time we was on, guys. We can't give them that. We can't give them that again.
Hey,
we don't charge enough. We don't charge enough to pay them, and we don't pay good enough.
You know, last time, you know, we had all them guys, you know, they were talking with their hearts, not with the numbers. You know,
I'd like to welcome everybody to HBCU Coaches Corner. My name is Rocky Miller, along with my co-host, Stephen Campbell, and our featured host, none other than the SWAC legend himself, the man who won the 2010 SWAC championship, none other than my man, Johnnie Cole.
He here, Coach. He here. Ready to rock and roll, man. Great time, and it's Friday afternoon before, you know, it get too dark out here in Arizona. You know, we 5:30 out here. So, but we're 100 degrees. Let's make sure that you understand it's hot out here in Arizona now.
Can you lean in, Coach? You're breaking up a little bit. You may want to lean in a little bit.
Okay, I'll lean in. Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, but I was just saying it's real hot. It's hot as fish grease out here in Arizona now. But we had some rain for the first time I think I've seen in a year. It rained pretty good last night. So, you know, we kind of cooled us off a little bit from 113 to 115 to down to 107, 105.
All right, Coach. Hey, check this out, Coach. This is a very special edition. You called us all up and told us you got the man from Alabama State. You're a good friend and actually coaching at a place where you used to roam the sidelines as a offensive coordinator. With no further ado, who you got for him, Coach?
Well, the one and only, the guy that have taken Alabama State to the mountaintop. We want to call him Moses. You know, in the book, you know, Moses took him to the promised land, but the good Lord couldn't get over. And talking with him earlier today, you know, this is hump. This is get over the mountain, you know, and you know, one of them teams we got to get over the mountain is Florida A&M. He hadn't had a losing season. They finished second twice and third once. Right now, he's is the longest guy that's been a head coach that have coached the conference more than 2 years. In the 2 years, he's put some guys in pro. They raked his coaching staff this year, and like he's saying, he'll tell you about it that sometimes that's a good thing. That means you hire good people. With no further ado, Eddie Joseph Robinson Jr. from Alabama State, head coach.
Good evening. How are you guys doing this evening?
Good, Coach. Great, man. Man, I'm glad I got a chance to get you. I was just surprised to get you on Friday, but we got you early. I'm pretty sure y'all got a scrimmage. I think 99% of tomorrow is the scrimmage, the big scrimmage before everybody start game planning.
Yeah, pretty much. So, you know, we'll start off on a Thursday. So, yeah, tomorrow will be our last big scrimmage, and then we'll have the SWAC officials down here. We'll be in the stadium, so we're going to try to make it as much of a game day environment as we can. We'll have it's kind of like our deal with all of the athletic department. We'll have all of the different teams there, so we'll sign autographs and on the concourse at the stadium. So it'll be it'll be some of our kids. It'll be their first time to actually, you know, play a little football in the stadium. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Senior now. You're a senior. You're a senior head coach. You've been right there, man. You've been looking over at it, 7-5. Looking over at it, 7-5. Last year, kind of got tripped up to the 6-5. Now you don't lost your defense coordinator, your secondary coach, and James Williams. Man, I mean, you right there, but you right there. You ain't got the people who, as Drake would say, we started from the bottom, now we're here. And they going on to what? James went to Kennesaw. Defense coordinator went to UAB. How you feeling right now?
We'll feel good about it. I think you always have to. For us, you realize that coach is going to do well and they'll have opportunities. And so you have to, my thing, I always tell the coaches before I hire them, like, hey, man, what's your goal? Do you want to get to the NFL? You want to get to, Power Five football? What's your goal? And it's my job to try to help that coach to get to his goal, whether it's helping them to get the NFL interns or whatever that is. And then it's his job to help Alabama State to win the championship. So you got to have everybody invested in something. And so both of those guys are, good friends, still talk to James quite a bit. And to me, it's an asset because now I get to hear the things that they're doing at Kennesaw and at UAB and some of the things that we can try to replicate. And so you try to learn from coaches that are different places. So you just add it to your network of coaches that you can call so you can bounce ideas off of them, the things that are working. So that's how I kind of looked at it. But both of those guys helped us a lot. They helped us to have the #1 defense in the conference and really high in FCS. And so wish both of them the best. Of course, we play UAB the first game, so I can't root for Ryan too much the first week, but after that, I'll be rooting for him also. He's a great guy.
Hey, Coach, man, your first recruiting class are now all men. They came from boys to men. What is the tune that they are singing now? It's time. They've been there and they've been so close. But only closest happened in horseshoes. Are they fired up and ready to go?
Yeah, I think everybody has those expectations. It's not just us, it's everybody in the conference, and you have a lot of teams who have a great chance to sit at the top, but it's only going to be one winner and 11 losers. That's how we're looking at it. So, being in second or third place is not a goal of ours. I know no one else in the conference has that same goal. So that's what makes football so special. It only going to be one winner. And the good thing is everything can be proven on the field. But, my guys, we're ready to play. We're just trying to get better. Our motto is always going to be win today. So, we can't talk championship. All we can do is win Friday and then wake up in the morning and win Saturday. Been having some really good back-to-back days. Once, Coach, once school starting, they had that fried chicken Wednesday and that Thursday morning practice looks a little raggedy. Everybody's getting distracted. And you're 18, 19, you're supposed to be distracted, but now we have to get them refocused back on football. So it's a good test. You get some transfers, you get them in that HBCU environment. It's a lot going on. So we're treating this like a game day prep. So I'm telling them, hey, man, curfew yourself tonight. Make sure that you're ready to play. Get into your routine because in a week or 2 weeks, I think for us another 13 days, you'll be going to bed, waking up, playing your first college football game. So that's the fun part about it.
Well, Coach, man, your Achilles heel. I think this is one reason why you ain't got over the hump.
Hey, Coach, you breaking up. Can you speak up, Coach?
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Your Achilles heel. How I know on paper that quarterback spot looked wonderful. You got some competition over there. Of course,
Yeah.
we know Andrew Body. You got to transfer from Georgia Tech. I heard it's hot over there, Coach. At least you got 2 good ones. But with your luck, you need about 6 good ones.
Yeah, let's
You'll play with wide receivers, defensive backs, and quarterback. What does it look like over there, Coach?
Yeah, the guys are working hard, and like you said, we have competition. Andrew Body, we all know about the talent that he has. We saw him in the first game against North Carolina Central. Things that he can do in practice. Just a natural leader, great kid. He's been hurt the last 2 years in the first game, so just it's hard not to root for a kid that's had that type of adversity and to show up with a great attitude, ready to work every day. So he's out there healthy, ready to go, competing. And then you have Kareem Key, who returned from last year, quarterback from Georgia State, Braylon, and then another kid that transferred in from Jacksonville State. They have a lot of the same skill set as Andrew Body. So those guys will be out there competing. And James, our big freshman from last year, who also was injured. And so as you know, competition, it brings out the best of everybody. So that's the best part about it for us. It'll be tough, because we have some really good guys who won't get to play this year, unfortunately. But I think from a team standpoint, those guys are pushing each other, realizing that every day I have to go out there and have a great day. And I think, just from my experiences in the NFL and being on some good teams, when you have that type of competition, I think it makes the team better than it makes the individual better.
Hey, Coach, let me ask you this, Coach. You mentioned that you lost some coaches, some quality coaches.
Mhm.
A key coach for you, which was your defensive coordinator and your defensive back coach. Who were you able to replace those guys with, and were you what kind of experience do those guys have in coaching?
Yeah, defensive coordinator. That was a guy I didn't have to look for. Billy Gresham. I think coach. He coached Billy probably when he was there when he was a young guy, and a guy that was from Montgomery, played at Alabama State, and just remember him as a player here. And he was coaching at Carver High School. Did a great job there as a head coach, and has been at Alabama State for a number of years. He was actually my linebackers and special teams coordinator, so the system was right there. Of course, he'll put his touch on it. And then Todd Middleton, who was a former defensive coordinator, I think down there at Prairie View, and my D-line coach. So he'll kind of be that co-coordinator, have put a lot of stuff from that run game aspect of it. And then cornerback coach-wise, Saeed Lee turned to another Hornet. He was coaching over at Morehouse and Grambling before that. So that's a guy that we had just a young coach that I met when I first got the job, and I was just about to hire him, and he ended up going to Grambling. So it's good to get some Hornets back on board. So I feel good about those guys just from them knowing me and I'm knowing them, and so the camaraderie of the staff is pretty good, and I like that part of it. And whenever you get some alumni back, they feel it. They understand the Mad City Classic. They understand the big games, Turkey Day Classic, and so they have that same commitment to want to win, and they feel that that need to have a successful season and a championship season.
Hey, Coach, this is your fourth year, coming into your fourth year. How would you rate this offseason compare this offseason to your other three off seasons, and where do you think your program is as far as contending for a championship?
Yeah, I mean, for me, especially being first-time head coach, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And so it's not like you're winging it, because you have a great idea of what you want to accomplish, and you talk to some other coaches. You got some former head coaches on the staff. Coach Sims, who came over from Bethune-Cookman. So you had a lot of really good input, but now you can kind of see what has worked or has not worked, and so you want to have it as flawless as possible. I tell them, like, we're like space shuttle operators. This is like NASA. We have one boat loose and the whole shuttle crash. So we want to be as perfect as we possibly can and learn from the mistakes the year before. And so to answer your question, I mean, we're moving in the right direction. I think it was one of the best off seasons we've had, just as far as the OTAs, having guys up here working, competing, watching film, just realizing that we're trying to bond together as a team, getting the new guys, the freshmen, the transfers to all get to know each other and believe in each other. And that's the big part of it. So, of course, everybody else is doing the same thing. And so I tell them, I say, hey, man, did we have a championship practice today? And the answer is you'd never know, because I don't know what's going on in the conference. It feels great to me, but it's still everybody else is going to be better. And I think that's why, competing in the SWAC, you have a lot of great coaches. Every team is getting better just from a personnel standpoint of the guys that we're getting on campus. So the league is getting more and more competitive each year. So you may have gotten better, but you still got to know that everybody else is getting better also. So you have to just go out there and keep competing and working to be the very best you can be.
Hey, Coach, by most people's account from the outside, it looks like you guys have had tremendous defensive seasons, but it's struggling on offense. Can you just break down, in your 3 years being here during those seasons, tell us why do you believe your offense has struggled?
Well, I think, it always starts at the quarterback position usually. My first year when we had D. Davis, he had a great first game against Howard, and he got hurt the second game against Miles. College missed some time and then came in and out the lineup, and so that was kind of part of it. The second year we ended up switching from one quarterback to another mid-season, and the kid picked it up, but by the time he got going, it's kind of on that second stretch. And then last year you had a lot of quarterback injuries. So if we can get the main guy to be the main guy, and I think it's always been a quarterback conference. The team who has some consistent play at quarterback, or who has the best quarterback, usually does extremely well. Just look over the last couple of years. Usually the SWAC quarterback of the year is usually the team that ends up winning the conference, or they're right there at the top. So that's what we have to get that done. Of course, you still have to have, those explosive players and those type things like that. But we feel like it's all ready to come together, just having some young guys who are moving up on that offensive line. them third and fourth year guys who have been here, played together, those type deals. So just really looking forward to it, trying to get better at that position and then to keep maintaining what we've done from a special teams and the kicking game aspect and then also with defense.
Have you guys set any goals for your offense this year as far as ranking, total yardage, things of that nature to kind of measure how successful you guys are or what the expectations is on offense?
Yeah, score more points than the other team. That's the number one goal. So whatever that takes. but yeah, Coach Barnett, we have our goal board like every team does. Don't turn the ball over, average certain amount of points, third down. So yeah, we definitely have those goals. But my thing is the job for the offense to score one more point than the defense does, than other team does. And so, but yeah, we'll have those metrics of what it means to get better, and we have those competitions we track during the offseason, we track during fall camp to see if we're moving in that direction. No self-inflicted penalties, those type of things. Keep the ball off the ground, no turnovers. Football hasn't changed much. The recipe for a good team is still the same.
It seems like, Coach, you playing good football, man. You need to go buy some Lucky Charm box and put it in there, because when you right there go another quarterback right out. So, Coach, you got to get over the hump, and that Achilles heel to get over the hump is to beat Florida A&M. That's a big one. But I know you got to win the first one first. How you feel just as a coach, and like you said, you hadn't been a head coach, but I mean coaching, and you got guys around him. You guys feel that this is the year?
Oh yeah, every year you have to feel it's the year. I think I love even in the NFL, you love the opening day. It didn't matter what team you were playing; they could have missed the playoff the year before and was 3-13. Every team had a great offseason, and they felt like the first game, boom, we're gonna get off to a great start. So yeah, tons of optimism. Like we know what the goal is. It's to win a championship. It's just not out here to have a winning season. Second place won't feel good. Last year we overcame a lot of adversity. So you look back on it and you say, man, coach, that was a great coaching job, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, but we didn't win a championship. So, and I think that's how it has to be. You can't just go out there. We're not just trying to fill up the stadium and send people home sad after the homecoming. So we want to get to that next level, and we know that's going to be fan SWAC wise. Our first SWAC game is at FAMU, and so that's going to be a big game for us just because it's the first SWAC game. But it's always looking at the first game against UAB. It'll be a great test for us going up there on a Thursday night. So looking forward to that. Fans are also. So you can, I think you look at our schedule, it's a lot of big games, and that's going to be the fun part of it. And each game gets bigger the next week, especially when you start winning. And so the kids have to embrace that moment and appreciate it and enjoy it and realize it's a special moment. It's a privilege and an honor to play Division I college football. It's an honor for me to coach this team. And so you have that type of approach and you go out there, try to get better every week.
You're muted, Coach. Hold on. Let me unmute you. Go ahead, Coach.
I said, is there any special player out there that you have that's kind of surprising you this fall that we hadn't seen yet?
I would say from a new guy standpoint, not like over the top. We felt like we had some young guys who can come in here and contribute right away, but we're somewhat of an older team now, so those guys they'll kind of blend in. But from the say, okay, yeah, this kid is going to come up here and be a day one starter. I wouldn't say that. And then just our returning guys, Amari Holsclaw, those guys, expecting a lot out of those guys. He was kid that was injured in the Madison City Classic last year, right when he was really getting going. So I'm expecting him to finish where he left off at as a freshman year, not getting the whole thing done. And so. But now we got some really good players, some good young players who have stepped up, especially on that defensive side of the ball. And so we'll play a lot of people, probably play a lot more on defense than we played last year. But I think that'll be a good thing. We may not have that one guy who can get 70 tackles, but we got 3 guys who can get 25 apiece. And so I think that's how we're going to put it together.
Hey, Coach, we went out and visited you guys a couple years ago during the spring. And we saw some really good-looking young guys playing for you guys. Is there any of those guys that you had that were young freshmen maybe even sophomores that are developed into real players at this point that you would like to mention?
Yeah, I think Asa Gregg is one of those guys as a wide receiver. I think he's the guy that can make that next step. You know, a kid out of that DC era, big, strong, can really make some plays, can really be a guy that can stretch the field and do some things like that. So we're looking for him. Ajay Harrell is another guy coming into his third year as a wide receiver now, a redshirt sophomore. And was a young guy, one of those guys that Jacoby Jones recruited, and another one was Jalen Jones. So I think we've had a young receiver core the last couple of years, so it should be good. Watching those guys, redshirt, play a little bit last year, and now really taking that next step in the spring. And of course, having that quarterback and those receivers making that connection, I think kind of answer your earlier question, that's how we become a better team. We've been running the football really well the last couple of years, but having that big play receiver, that guy who can stretch the field and have a 50, 60, 70-yard play, I think football is tough when you got to go 10 and 12 plays every time. So having some explosives will be really helpful for us.
All right, Coach, I'm gonna jump in here. You my guy. So I got to start off with some light because we're going to get into some of the players that you got with Rocky. Because I want to ask you something. Now, you are a proud member of Omega Psi Phi.
That's right.
Proud member. But through the grapevine, I heard that one of your quarterbacks pledged Coach Cole's fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to know, Coach, can a man of Omega understand that he's going to potentially have a Kappa run his offense? Coach, are you going to be okay with this?
Hey,
did he shimmy? Coach, did he throw up the yo at the practice? Did he actually wish 1911 was the right one? Coach, what happened with that now?
Nah, you got it right, man. Whoever your source is, you got some good information coming from out of Montgomery. So we've and I'm a big proponent of the Divine Nine. I think it's a way to keep players connected to the university. Usually the guys that come back and contribute and donate and participate is usually the athletes because they have something to come back for. And then, the members of the fraternities and sororities, they always come back also. So I think it's a beautiful thing. But man, we had a rush of Kappas that pledged Beta Zeta this last spring. So it's been a lot of shimmying going on in fall camp. So I will say that. So as an Omega, it's kind of, but hey, my thing is if you shimmy and you in the end zone, so that's a win for everybody. But yeah, we've made that adjustment. But now Andrew Body did pledge Kappa, and so those guys are really enjoying it, and that's really what the HBCU and college experience is all about. It's not, of course, we want to make sure that they graduate, get their degrees, enjoy football, but you want them to enjoy the social aspect of it too, and they're definitely enjoying that part of it. So it's good to see those young men do it.
Well, Coach, I had to start with you on that. Coach, you on mute. Unmute him real quick, right? Go ahead, Coach. Give one time.
No, I need to say, Andre Body, I'm calling him, Coach. I'm calling on my frat brother.
There it is. So, Coach,
hey,
now one of the things I thought
it's this year.
Absolutely. Now, Coach, one of the things that I found interesting, as we know, you all squad and players have been the bellwether of defensive players that have been on the all SWAC team. Now, this was the thing I found fascinating. I looked at the all SWAC team like I always do because it kind of gives me a gauge of talent. Coach, you got more offensive players on the all SWAC team than defensive players. And those guys are on the offensive line. 3 of your offensive linemen are on the all SWAC team. Coach, tell me about those 3 guys. What does that mean? Because as we know, and Coach, like I said, you one of those guys that played in those trenches, had knocked those head. How important is to have a strong offensive line, and talk about why those guys are preseason all SWAC.
Yeah, I mean, each one of them has a different story, but 3 great kids. Jeremiah Frazier, we'll start with him as he was a guard last year. He's going to move over to center. He's a local kid from Montgomery who started off at Tennessee State, went to Troy, started for us last year. Pretty much is the smart guy. He's the guy that's going to make sure everybody's in the right spot. That's why we moved him to that center position. And really looking forward to him to having that all-conference type year. He's emerging as the leader over there. Cameron Smith is a big kid, and big kid. He's out of Texas, out of that Dallas area. Started over at Langston, and then was at Clark Atlanta. Has been here last year. Kind of benefited from that NAIA rule of having that one more year, and I think he's the guy that has the potential to play at the next level just because of his size, athleticism, and so he plays tackle, and another guy is Oh man, you made me lose my train of thought. Desmond Daniels. So yeah, Desmond Daniels transferred over. Was actually a tight end coming out of high school out of Georgia. So he was a tight end signed with Louisville, then at Bethune-Cookman, and played for us last year. I think if you look at him, he just has the prototypical size with the 6'5", the long arms, very lean guy, still at around 305, 310. So I think both of those guys at the tackle position, to me, have a chance to garner some interest, and it's always good when you have a guy like Vincent from Alabama A&M who was drafted and playing that offensive line. It makes the scouts come to say, hey, who else does the conference have? And so really looking for those guys. I mean, we're going to kind of go as they go. And then Desmond Penn is another guy who, is always good for me. He was a walk-on and I was a walk-on. So he was a guy that came here as a walk-on out of South Florida, just kept getting better and better and ended up playing a lot last year. One of those guys that's undersized, but just tough and physical and just plays better as the game goes on. So, I mean, those three of those guys were all preseason all conference, but Desmond is another guy. So I think that's probably the strength of the offense, that offensive line. So, we like to run the football. We like to be physical and tough. And it starts with defense, but it kind of carries over to that offensive line. And when those guys can have that same type of attitude and personality, it's a real big deal.
Now, Coach, I wanted to ask you, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing a trend. First of all, I need to know who you got down there in Florida to keep getting all these Florida kids to come up to Montgomery. And I also saw and I'm talking about your freshman recruits, and I'm going to go to your transfer. But it looks like you've got a theme. Either I like the kids from Alabama or let me go get a couple of kids from Florida. So let's talk about, because Coach, one thing I do like what I've seen, you have had a mix of transfer, but it's very clear that you want to build kids. You want them to learn the Eddie Robinson Jr. way. So talk about your recruiting class and why did you kind of say, hey, I like the Florida kids, and of course I love my Alabama kids. And then we'll talk about your transfers.
Yeah, I think, with us, we're fortunate to be in Montgomery. And if you just said put a circle of 300 miles, and that's usually a tank of gas, we can recruit those areas. You're talking about Birmingham, Mobile, Huntsville, going to Columbus, Georgia, Jackson, Mississippi, Memphis, Nashville, New Orleans, and Atlanta, and Georgia, and those in South Georgia areas, and Tallahassee, and that panhandle of Florida. So fortunately, I don't really have to fly to California or Arkansas, anywhere like that. I can stay close and build a really good football team. And then, of course, we have those South Florida kids. And that's the thing, Coach Lewis, who went on the UAB, he was from that area, from Pompano. He recruited down there. So Saeed Lee is another guy, my new DB coach. And so you got to have a guy from South Florida to go down there. So it's kind of one of those recruiting areas where they like the locals to know the locals, and they can get those guys. A lot of kids from that Chaminade area, Coconut Creek and those type areas. So the high schools down there have been really good. When we have our 7-on-7 camps, they come up, they bring their teams, and it's just something that's been really productive. I think we have around 12 or 13 guys from the South Florida area, and probably about 20 on the team. So other than Alabama and then Georgia, our next biggest recruiting stop is Florida.
Now, Coach, one of the last things, and I'll give it back to Coach now, but now on the converse, what I like, I'm looking at the transfers. And I'll say this, what Willie Simmons did with FAMU, he went to the kids that were local and said, come play for home, play for your city. I'm looking at a lot of that flavor being cooked up there in Montgomery. Was that some of the things, because where you built the program, first of all, and let's be clear, great facilities, great coach, great people at Alabama State, great city to play football because of the passion and tradition. What about those kids that you were able to say looked in the transfer portal? What were you looking for a kid to be part of Alabama State? And was it critical that you brought those kids back home to Alabama?
Yeah, so we tried to look at it that way. Who's from Montgomery? Montgomery has just a great amount of talent. The state of Alabama does. And so when we're looking at the metrics, we're looking at, hey, we got a kid that's like Jalen Jarrett. He was at Kennesaw for 2 years. We recruited him out of high school, out of Pike Road. So to get that kid to come back, he'll play for us right away. We kind of know him. We have that familiarity with him. And I think, like you said, Willie Simmons and FAMU does a great job of that. And so many good players in that area and FAMU is just, it's synonymous with the state of Florida. So a lot of those kids say, hey, man, I went here, but now I want to come back and play at home. I think TC Taylor does a great job of doing the same thing in Jackson. Those kids who leave and go somewhere else, they come back home because they know Jackson State. I mean, they grew up on it. So all of the kids that I'm talking to, they grew up on the Magic City Classic. They grew up on the Turkey Day Classic. And so it's something that they're familiar with. So if it doesn't work out at another school, then we say, hey, man, come on back home, play in front of your family. And that's been successful for us. And I think a lot of other schools are having that same approach. Let me get those local kids who maybe have had a stop or two, and now they can come back home and just get back into that HBCU tradition.
Hey, Coach, we're going to do some housekeeping right quick, Coach. Hey, everybody that's watching right now, just want to remind you, we're about to stop the channel on the off script channel, and it will continue on the Rocky Miller channel. Please, it's in the description, and I'll put the link in the chat. So just so you know, we're about to stop the chat and stop the stream on the off script channel. Go ahead, Coach. Can you hear me, Coach?
Hey, can you hear me, Eddie?
Yep, I got you.
You know, I know you like to keep things close to your vest, play great defense, control the game by the running game. Man, you hadn't talked about your stable. What about your running backs? You got one coming back, right? And of course, you guys went out and recruited a couple good ones.
Yeah, man. We I think that's been one of the surprises of the camp. If I would say who's been a surprise, of course, I think Jamari Holdsclaw is kind of the guy, and then you still have a young guy Kirkendall from out of that Houston area, a kid that transferred to us, and young guy, and he's been playing really well. Played some last year, had some big plays, and then Marcus Harris is a returning guy, kind of like the big back from that Jackson, Mississippi area. But we have a couple young guys. Young guy Moody, Moody's out of Birmingham, and then we have another kid out of Russell County, right there in that Columbus area. So got a good mix of old guys and younger guys. So I feel like that's one of those things that we can run the football with enough guys who can stay fresh. But I think Holdsclaw is the guy that we're really looking for some big things on.
Hold on, you muted, Coach. Hold on. Go ahead.
Man, you ever been on your own show, Eddie, and they block you, man? Do your coaches block you?
Keep cutting you off, man.
No. You got an echo coming back through, Coach. So that's why I wanted to make sure.
Sorry. No, I'm just kidding with you, Coach. I know you taking care of business.
Yeah.
You know, you've been right there, Coach. And you know, I said it earlier when we opened up the show. And what gives you that confidence? Do your players also know how close y'all been? Do you guys talk about that as a staff, as a team of guys? We one game away of going to the championship game, 3 years straight almost.
Yeah, it's been a game here, a game there. Last year was a kick here, a safety there. So, big play. So I told him it was probably about 5 plays last year was the reason why we didn't get a chance to play for a SWAC championship. And pretty similar to the last 2 years before that. So our word this year as a team is execute. And so, we know that when it gets to crucial parts in the game, it's going to be a string of 4 to 6 to 8 plays where you have to go out there and execute. You got to execute better than the opponent when you're tired, fatigued, bruised up, banged up, overcoming that adversity and that aspect of it. So I don't think you look at it as a season approach. You look at it as a day-to-day approach. You look at it as different time periods when you're doing situational football in practice. Hey, this is what I have to do to execute in order to win, because, to me, you want to make that practice as stressful as possible. I want to put you in the worst situation, backed up on the 1 yard line where you have to get 2 first downs before we punt, or in the red zone where you have to execute and then make a field goal if you don't score a touchdown. So I think for us, we're trying to put the kids in stressful situations, and then we're trying to find out who can we trust in game situations. And I think that's the biggest part I preach to the kids. Hey, make sure you can execute. And then make sure that as a coach, I feel like I can trust you so I can put you in the game.
All right, I'm a little late on the switch. Hold on. Go ahead, Coach.
Oh, you came a little late in the business, but you got a part of the one aspect of recruiting before you can start paying players. Do you see a difference in the transfers and a difference in the game as far as when it comes to recruiting, as well as are you loading up? Or some coaches try to build, and of course, this day and time, everything is microwave. We want you to win today.
Yeah, so I'm probably in the middle. but I prefer still to get the high school kids. We've signed between 15 and 18 high school kids every year the last couple of years, and we'll bring about another 10 walk-ons. So that brings that about a 25 kid freshman class every year. And I think you still have to get those freshmen, especially offensive linemen. I think just to get the guys in the portal that you want, you really can't afford them from what they're asking for, just from a monetary standpoint. So you got to get those young guys, and we've done really good with some freshman walk-on offensive linemen who've developed, and by that second or third year, they're ready to play and they end up earning a scholarship. So I think, for us, it still starts with that part of it. And but you still get those portal kids who will make an impact. You have certain guys who, for whatever reason, man, they're out there and they got a year or two left, and they can really impact your program. But I still think you got to start with the young guys. You got to build it. Maybe your first year, and we did a lot of portal kids the first year just to kind of get it going. But I think year to year, you still have to get those young guys who kind of know you. They know the program. They know what it means to be a Hornet. And then I think the next part of it is you got to identify the young guys who probably won't be here 4 years. We had the kid Adrian Maddox. His first game, he got to pick up against Howard. The next game, he got to pick against UCLA. I was like, well, we better start recruiting another one of those. So he's not going to be here very long. And he stayed 2 years, had a great career here, and went to UAB 1 year. Now he's at the University of Georgia. Just text him the other day, wishing him good luck. And he's still a Hornet. He started off here, recruited that kid out of high school, but you just knew from the talent level that it was going to be hard to keep him 4 years. So now it's more of a 2-year window for most of the kids, especially if you get a high level kid. And you can complain about it, not like it, or you could just adjust to it. So it's just part of it. You make the adjustment.
One of the things you said was walk-ons. And I've talked to some coaches because now it's no more, initials. You can put 105 kids on scholarship, right?
Yeah.
You can spread your 63 to 105. But you said walk-ons, and some coaches said ain't no more walk-ons. I'm going after 105 kids, and they're gonna be on some type of money. And I see that your philosophy is a lot different, and maybe because your comfort level from your administration and the people that you got supporting you, does that have a lot to do with it, or that's just what you believe in, building from the ground?
Now, I guess with me being a walk-on, I'm always partial to that kid that says, if a kid wants to come and pay his own way, then my expectation that you'll be on time, you won't miss a meeting. You have to be so much better than the other scholarship kid for the first year. You have to do something to show me that you deserve to be here, especially when you get to that hard number of 105 on the team. But I think you are right, Coach, from a standpoint of, when you had the counters, you can only give out 63 scholarships. So now at 105, you may never get to 105, but you can give, this kid 25%, this kid 30%. So you'll probably have less walk-ons, but every kid is getting something, even though if it's not a full scholarship. And so I think that's going to probably be the model of most FCS programs. I don't think we'll get to the point where we have, we can give 105 full scholarships, but I don't think we'll ever get to that point just from a cost standpoint.
Hey, Coach, let me ask you this here, Coach. How can you expect to win the championship when other schools are getting guys from, I just say Group of 5 and Power 5 schools, and you trying to win the conference with Rudy? How's that going to work out, Coach?
Well, the walk-ons aren't the Rudy like you're talking about. And so what happens is, because so many schools are going to the portal, that walk-on player is usually a kid that he's a scholarship kid. It's just you don't have a scholarship for him, but he's really a kid that's good enough and should be on scholarship. And so like this year, we'll spend a lot of time awarding walk-on scholarships because they've earned it, as opposed to going out there and trying to find another group of kids. So it's not the traditional, hey, this kid's a walk-on and I'm doing a favor to my high school English teacher to put this kid on the team. Now, these walk-ons are guys who can play. And so I think the definition of what a walk-on is a much better player than what it was, say, 10, 20 years ago. So
you're not trying to play a 190-pound offensive lineman?
No, it's not that type of walk-on. It's a kid that's just been overlooked. he most of the kids that we end up having walk-ons, they have D2 offers, or they have D3, things where they can go and try to put a package together. But instead of that, they say, hey, coach, let me bet on myself and I'm going to come and earn a scholarship. So to me, it's like, first of all, we want to like who like us. Like, I don't want any kid that does not want to be at Alabama State. So I don't want you to end up here. Well, I'll settle for it. No, I don't want you. Yeah, I want a kid he's excited. When he comes on a visit, he's going to the bookstore and buying a hat, a jacket, a shirt, a sweater. And coach, from recruiting, when they go to the bookstore and start buying a bunch of stuff, you say, it's a good chance he's going to sign here. We got him. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking at those type of kids who want to be here.
Hey, coach, wait, I want to one quick thing. But did you not just tell me one of your all-conference players was a walk-on? Did you not just say that?
Absolutely. So I have a kid, Desmond Penn.
So let's explain to him. He said a 1 night. You coach the kid up. That's all. Explain to him this kid again, coach, and what you do for these walk-ons. Because he tried to put a joke in there, coach. But I'm trying to show him what you just said. Your principle shows you come here, work hard. You'll be exactly this. Go ahead.
Correct. Yeah, and so keep in mind the scholarships are 1-year scholarships. So what I tell my walk-ons is like you're competing. You may have 12 linebackers. Well, you're competing with those kids that's on a scholarship. And if you outplay him, you'll end up being on scholarship and he may not. And so you have that competition within the room for everybody to get better. Keon Lewis, our all-conference safety from last year, he's on the Aeneas Williams watch list. When we first came here, he's from South Florida. He was a walk-on, just playing special teams. Got a little bit better, not the biggest kid, but just kept learning and getting better. We had an injury at safety last year. He stepped in, played, got an interception, ran one back for a touchdown, kept making plays. He's all conference. So now he's not a walk-on anymore. You know what I'm saying? So he's like one of our guys. And so it's one of those things where those kids, some of those kids just have that sense of, hey, I'm going to earn it. I'm not entitled to be here, but it's a privilege for me to be on the team. And they compete and they work very hard. So, it's not a matter of, that walk-on kid that's just at the end of the bench and that type of stuff. So we have some good quality walk-ons who do really good things, and some of them make all conference.
Well, that's what I was saying, Coach, is we wanted you to kind of bring out. I remember the show, the movie Rudy. Yep. Rudy had no chance of ever playing at Notre Dame. They put him in the game and whatever. But when you say the term walk on, and I wanted you to frame it up as to what it really is, a guy who has the talent to play, but more than anything, he wants to be at Alabama State. Like, correct. That's really what you want. You want a guy to be at Alabama State, and I'm glad you was able to explain that, because I'm thinking Rudy, Coach. I'm thinking Rudy. Well, I'm thinking. I say, how is this guy gonna win with Rudy?
Now, so I would say this. So my first year, I felt like we had some guys like that. We had some guys on the team that you felt like, this guy's on the team, but he'll never play. And so what I tell my guys, my coaches, is if we take a walk on, it should be a kid. And it's probably not a good term to use. He's probably more, I would say, developmental player will probably be a better term. It's a kid that you say, hey man, he's 6'4" an offensive lineman, but he's 260 pounds. You're not going to give a kid that size a scholarship, but if he works for a year or two, he can be 280, 290, and then he can play if he has a little fight in him. So it's guys that take some development. And I think what happens is a lot of coaches don't want to develop players anymore. They want the guy that's going to be a plug and play. And so we don't mind taking a kid that I got to sit out there and run it again and put him in the weight room and get him on protein, get him bigger and stronger, develop his mind, develop his body, develop him as a person. And then, because that's what they did for me. That's what Coach Markham did for me. I was a walk-on. I wasn't an NFL player when I got to Alabama State, but I was an NFL player when I left. And so I think that's the philosophy that we're a little bit different. And I think that's been the beauty of the SWAC. Aeneas Williams was a walk-on. So I can go on and on with guys who were walk-ons in the SWAC who went on to have NFL careers. And so I think that's kind of what the lost art is of the HBCUs. We take guys that nobody want to really develop. They have the raw talent. And then we sit there and develop and mold those guys. The unfortunate part about them now is that some of them leave before the final process is done. They They get one good year and say, thank you, coach, and then they head on out. But that's just part of it. I mean, you can't be mad about it. You still wish those kids luck. We had Ja'Cory Merritt. He was a scholarship kid here. Ja'Cory Merritt Krosky, and he left, went to New Mexico. He's playing with the Washington Commanders now. Got drafted in the 7th round. Also Keyshawn Johnson. He was a kid that signed out of Birmingham area, was the leading receiver in the conference, and now he's in camp with the Cleveland Browns. But those guys are still Hornets. We saw those guys out of high school and recruited them and developed them and helped them to be the players that they are. And some of them go on to the NFL. So I think that's the part of it. We'll take those young developmental guys and help them to get better.
Yeah, I wanted to. Can you hear me now, Coach?
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah, Coach, you always could hear me, right?
Yes, sir. I got you.
One of the things that you and let the audience know, a couple of years back, you could only sign 30 players a year, and they called them initials. As a matter of fact, that was one of the things that they hit me over the head for. And now you can sign as many as you want. Now, the only thing that threw me off, Coach, was, and you can correct me and get me right, you can give away 105 full scholarships, or do y'all still work on the options of 63 and a money for 105?
Correct. So we're still working on 63, which can be spread over 105. So I don't think we'll ever get to the point where we have 105 on scholarship.
Especially full. You talking about millions of dollars.
Correct. Yeah. And so the bigger schools with unlimited budgets, they'll give out 105 full scholarships. I think some of those mid-major schools, they may bump up to 85 or 90, but they may not go to the full 105. So I think with the whole revenue sharing, I think every athletic department is having a different model. And so, you just have to make the adjustment and see what works for you, where you can still be competitive and put a really good product on the field.
Hey, Coach, can I Coach, let me piggyback on something, because Coach, I think, and I want our audience to know how special a player, I always bring this up. Not only were you an All-American, you were academic All-American, and how important it was. So does that kind of look, and when you're doing your recruiting, you see a kid that, you know what, I can give him a partial, but he's also great at academics, and we can find him an academic scholarship. Do you kind of use that in kind of to Coach Cole's point of getting to that 105? Well, hey, you come to Alabama State because you got great grades. I can probably find you some academic money for you to come to us. Yeah,
I think you have to piece it together like that. And so, for us, and I tell kids when we're having our camps, if you have a 3.8, a 3.9, be loud. If I match with your GPA, don't whisper it, because in the African American community, we have this thing where we don't celebrate high academic achievement. We laugh at the smart kid. So I tell them, if you ran a 4.3 and I said who was the fastest guy, you would jump up and scream I had a 4.3. So if I'm asking, hey, who has a high GPA, you should jump up and say I have a 4.2, coach. I have a 3.9. So we have to celebrate that. So I make sure that when I'm doing my football camps with the high school kids, I'm celebrating the kid with the highest GPA, just like I'm celebrating the kid who's the fastest kid. And I think it's important that the kids know that we want to have high academic success. Our team GPA was 3.01 last year. Our goal is to get it to 3.2. And I think that part is huge also. But yeah, those kids that can come on academic scholarship, which is really how I got to Alabama State. I had a partial academic scholarship, then I walked on, then I earned the rest in football money. So I tell them, it's like, that's how I got here. So it can, if it worked for me, it's decades later, but it can still work for you. So, and I think that helps out when you can tell kids and show them that this is what worked for me, and I'm a living example of it. So.
I'm sorry, I got you muted, Coach. My apologies.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Now, with this new way, does it enhance the game to you, or not? Does it, or really it doesn't really matter about? I kind of like the new rule. I like it because you can expand your team and continue to recruit, because they also expanded recruiting as well, right? Do you like it this way, or you kind of like it the old way?
Now, to me, I guess for me coming into college football late and everything was moving, it probably helped me out because it wasn't like I was adjusting to something that everybody else was used to. It was changing for everybody, so everybody was learning at the same time, and so no one had a really big advantage because the NCAA rule could have been this, and then like you're saying, we had the 30 initial counters, and then a month later, okay, no more initial counter rules. So it's like, so everybody had to make the same adjustment, and then hey, we had this, okay, now we have 105. So everybody's learning together, but I think it's still one of those things that's in transition. I think you just have to adjust to the rules and make sure you stay within compliance. But for me, I don't think it's any better or any worse. It's just different. And I think you just adjust to it. The kids, the parents adjust to it once the rules come out. And you just go out there and take care of your kids, make sure they graduate and put the best team you can on the field.
Hold on, Coach.
Bama State football. You SWAC, I'm SWAC. We SWAC.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
SEC out here is talking about moving out of the NCAA, and the Hornets used to be NAIA before they joined the SWAC. It's been about 40 years ago, about 30-something years ago.
Yeah, like 80, 85, something like that.
And Eddie, I always thought, man, that we could get together as HBCU schools and you got the Magic City Classic, you had the Turkey Day that was real big. That's why I don't like when we messed up all those great classic games. You got the Southern Heritage now screwed up. You guys don't get what you get at the Turkey Day. Hopefully you can bring that back. You had the Circle City. But what I was saying was putting all that together, those great games, to me, I had some too, and sell it as a TV package like Notre Dame did years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And get you $500, $600, $700 million. Man, that would just be great, because black folks spend money now.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Black folks spend money, and if you could do that, because with all, now you can pay people. You can buy them pancakes, the Subway sandwiches. Believe me, I got hit with all that. Sandwiches and hats and T-shirts and Cole was buying gym shoes. That don't even matter no more. But at the end of the day, we ain't gonna be able to compete against the big boys when it comes to the dollars and cents, the pure dollars and cents. Do you ever talk with some other coaches or talk with your people about what's going on today in HBCU Black college football?
Yeah, I think, in the SWAC with the commissioner, Dr. McClellan, I think he's just doing an extraordinary job. To be a college commissioner over the last 5 years, I know it has to be stressful. And an athletic director for that standpoint with Dr. Cable and the job he's done, because the rules are constantly changing. And the presidents are looking at you for guidance, and I would love to give you guidance, but the rule that I just gave you guidance for has now changed, and now it's something different. So it's been an adjustment period for everybody, coaches, administrators, conference commissioners, everybody. So I think, but where the SWAC has positioned itself just with the digital network and everything, like you said, I mean, the thing that's generating the SEC and the bigger conferences with the Power Five is the TV revenue. That's why a Pac-12 school moves into the Big Ten. Is definitely not because of the geographic locations. It's purely because of the TV revenue. And I think the NFL realized that, and now the colleges are really understanding that the TV revenue is going to really generate this. Although you may have 100,000 that comes to your game, the TV revenue is a big deal. And I think how that plays out for the HBCUs. How can we parlay that into our advantage? Because like you said, our TV revenues are always good. The MEAC SWAC has great TV ratings. The Celebration Bowl has great TV ratings. And, African Americans, we are consumers. We spend what we make. We probably spend too much of what we make. And so I think the exact plan for that, I know the guys are working on that, trying to make that happen so the university can all benefit from it. But I feel like we're in a good position, and I don't think we can do anything until the bigger schools kind of make their decision. And I think then that's when we have to figure out, hey, what's the best role for us?
I got you. I just, I've always said that from a player standpoint, or really when Notre Dame made that big move, I always thought that we could make that move as well. I'm an economist. If it works for them, it works for us.
Yep.
Coach, man, I know you. You're in the thick of things. You guys got what, 2 weeks before you open up the season?
Yeah, got about 13 days, but we're a little bit less than 2 weeks. So we're on the clock right now.
About 13 days, and I know you. I know what Coach Williams meant to you. As a friend, and as a guy who gave you some, I wouldn't say guidance, but was right there with you. I know you kind of miss him.
Absolutely.
I had an opportunity out there, but man, we just glad that we could get some of your time. I want these guys. You guys got any last questions that you want to ask the man?
I do. I do want to ask Coach one thing real quick, and not because again I know it's one thing at a time, but Coach, let me see if I can share this real quick, Coach, because I was looking at your schedule, and I thought it was interesting. Give me one. There we go. Rocket, that pull up. There we go.
Yep, you got it.
Now, Coach, right here, where you play Southern non-conference, but you go on a death march between FAMU, Jackson State, your in-state rival, and then for a lot of people, the West Dark Horse, Prairie View. So when you start looking at this is a very tough schedule for a SWAC schedule, and it's all compact. So, Coach, when you're looking at this schedule, because last year you guys were picked, so you were being hunted, right? This year you kind of back where the underdogs. So, Coach, being that situation, does that change your mindset? Hey, do you go to guys and say, you know what? Hey, if they picked us, we had some bad breaks because of injuries, but this year we're the hunted, and we got to go get these guys because they're on our schedule. That's going to get us to a SWAC championship, but they're all right back to back to back.
Yeah, to me, the schedule is the schedule. People sometimes say, "Oh, this is a good schedule." Well, you still have to play the same 8 teams in the conference. So, no matter how you want to shuffle them up, every team can beat you. Last year we played Valley at home and we blinked and it was 14-0. We were losing. So I don't think it's any SWAC game where you can look at it and say, hey, this is an easier game than another one. Now you say that one team may have a little bit more talent or et cetera, but if you don't play well and good disciplined football within the conference, you're going to lose the game. And I think that's the biggest thing. To me, it's the team who can play consistently good over the entire season. Not up and down, not a good game, bad game, a clean game, a lot of mistakes, those type of stuff. And so, but looking at the schedule for us, I think the going to FAMU, you just want to get off to a great start. You want to start 1-0. Like we'll have our first 3 games and then we'll have that bye week. And like most of the coaches will say, hey, now it's a whole new season. It's the SWAC season. And we're starting off trying to go 1-0 in the conference. And I think that's how you look at it week to week. And, I don't think there's no other team that has any other harder or easier SWAC schedule because there's so many good teams in the conference. I mean, you may have the team that's picked first, but the team that's picked last can still beat you. And I think that's what you have that type of competitiveness within the conference. And so that's going to make it a fun season for the fans. It'll be a little stressful for the coaches, but that's part of it. That's why we're here.
Hey, Coach.
Now, Coach, I got one last thing to say.
Yeah,
now, Coach, you coined that phrase, and I should have got my lawyers for you to trademark it. He ain't SWAC. Now you got Sam Shade now, who is played at the University of Alabama. Now, Coach, when y'all meet in the middle field, you gonna look him in the eye and say, "Listen here, friend. Now, I know y'all are friends, Coach. You ain't SWAC. This is SWAC. Now, you gonna tell him that, Coach. Now, you gonna have to recoin that phrase for Coach Shade."
Well, Sam's first of all is a great coach. He's been doing a great job in high school, and Sam and I go way back to when he was playing with. He played with the Bengals, so we would play them every year, twice a year. So, and know a lot of guys that was on that Alabama team with him. And so now I think that Match City Classic is such a unique game. It's a beautiful football game. I wish every player could play in that game and every coach could coach in it. And when we get new coaches that come over, we try to tell them about it. Nah, coached in the Florida class. Nah, I coached in the Prairie View, Grambling class. But then once they come and they see it, like, man, coach, this Master Classic is something different, man. So I think Sam will have that experience. I mean, he's been going to that game a lot, and so he knows about it. But until you actually play in it and coach in it, it's just a totally different atmosphere. But Sam has been in the HBCU ranks at Miles College and has done a great job there. Won the championship last year, and I was rooting for him in the playoffs. They did well, won one game. So that's going to be a tough game. It always is. And in that game, it really doesn't matter who's coaching. It doesn't matter the players on the field. Both teams are going to play. Both schools are going to play hard. The bands, everybody. It's just a big game. To me, it has to be one of the best traditions in all of college football. I just love it.
Well, Coach, I think he's got Coach, you just told us he got his HBCU hour, so he can be all right.
Oh yeah, yeah. He got his black college credibility.
Out there, Coach. I want that swag unit out there. Well, Coach, I appreciate it. And like I say, Coach, I've always been a big fan. Like I say, you're my 88 brother, and I always wish you well, other than when you play FAMU. And like I said, we'll see you on the other side on my side. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it, Coach.
Wait, Coach, wait, Rocky.
Huh?
Coach Cole is waving.
Hold on. My bad. Go ahead, Coach.
Man, you know we got to put. Man, Coach, you reckon you got three? Well, I'm me, man. 5 tickets for the Magic City, baby. We can be right there with you. Can we get on your list?
Hey, I got you, man. I may not have a
spot, baby.
I may not have a ticket, but I'll try to get you in. How about that?
Well, hey, SWAC, man. You know how we do SWAC, baby.
Coach said we got to carry them bags.
Right.
The equipment.
Hey, Coach, I got one thing I wanted to mention, Coach, is that you're the dean of SWAC coaching. Couple things I want to ask you. 4 years in, did you ever think you would eventually, in 4 years in, you would be the dean of SWAC coaches? And you're one of the few guys this year in the conference that plays all the first-year coaches. You play Jermaine Jackson, you play Sam Shade, and, of course, you play T-Buck. What would you tell those guys about your first year, and what advice would you give them? But first, did you ever think you'd be the dean of coaches 4 years in?
No, not at all. I never really thought about it. It's just one of those things that happened. I think it's just a unique situation that you had turnover in the conference. And then you had some coaches like, Willie Simmons, who had opportunities to leave and do other stuff. So it was just a combination of that. Same thing with Coach Prime. He would have been here longer than me, but he had opportunity to leave and he did. And so I don't think it's an advantage or a disadvantage. I don't think nobody cares about once you kick off the game. Maybe I know the referees a little bit more by name. Other than that, I think you just got to go out there and play football.
Is there any advice you give T-Buck or Sam or Coach Jackson about coaching in the SWAC the first year?
Yeah, I mean, I know all three of those guys kind of on a personal level. And even with Buckley, I mean, he was. We both came out in '92, and so in the NFL draft, have a lot of the same friends and stuff like that. And I think it's just a great conference. Just enjoy it. And so when we had our coaches meeting, that was the biggest thing. It's just a privilege to coach in this conference. So we all have that responsibility to leave it better than how we found it, to improve it, to try to take the brand to the next level as far as the SWAC, and just give everything we can to these kids. I think with Eddie Robinson used to always quote the Amos Alonzo Stagg that, hey, no man is too great to coach America's youth. And I think if you have that type of approach about it, that it should be our pleasure and our blessing to coach in the conference. And I think those guys, they kind of embody that. If you know those three guys, they really appreciate the opportunity, like all of the 12 coaches do, and we don't take it for granted. And we're out there trying to put the very best product on the field for our universities, for our community, and for our kids.
Man, Coach, you couldn't have said that more better than that, man. I appreciate your time, your effort. We'll definitely get you in, but I definitely gonna come down there for the Magic City Classic, man.
All right, I got you.
I'm gonna take you up from that.
They start tailgating on Wednesday night, so get there early.
Hey, look, I've been there, done that.
Oh yeah.
And everything you don't said, man, I'm pretty sure now that you don't want so many. and now they got Sam Shea, which is an Alabama guy.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good crowd. It's gonna be a fun game.
I got you. I got you. Thank you, Coach, man. As always.
Thank you
man,
again, Coach.
on it, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and just to kind of wrap up, man. Johnny, I talked with you quite a bit, and just thank you guys for covering the HBCUs the way you do, and to give a platform. I was listening to Tremaine talk the other night, just to give a platform for the people at home and for the coaches to kind of have that direct talk. It's coming from our mouth straight to the people's ears through you guys, and so definitely appreciate the time you're taking to cover us, because we know you could be doing other stuff, so we definitely appreciate it. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
All right, y'all have a good night.
You
All
too.
right, you too.
All right, and that was the dean of SWAC coaches, none other than Eddie Robinson Jr.
We got a couple announcements, don't we?
Okay, go ahead, Coach.
About the classic games that's coming up. Did we get a chance to look at that?
No, we had the Shreveport Classic that's happening on Labor Day weekend. And that's between Grambling and Langston. You need to get your tickets to that game.
From Ticketmaster.
Yeah, you can go to Ticketmaster and look it up. That's the Shreveport Classic, and that's hosted and promoted by none other than a very good friend of the show, Al Wash. He's bringing another classic to Louisiana. It's interesting that he kind of kicks the season off with a classic in Shreveport, and then I don't know. He doesn't have anything to do with the Bayou Classic, but of course it'll end with another. The season will end with a great classic in Louisiana.
Yeah, he's over the State Fair Classic as well, between Grambling and Prairie View. But that happens September the 28th. So we want to make sure, and we'll bring that to you. Also, Coach, I just got approved. We both been approved. All three of us have been approved for the SWAC MEAC Challenge. So we look forward to you guys coming out and seeing that between North Carolina Central and yours truly, the Southern Jaguars. So we want to make sure we put that out there. I think that was it. I wanted to take a little time to salute a guy that the reason why I'm here, as far as the football part of it, I wanted to salute my mentor and my coach, Coach Lionel Taylor. He just passed away. He was a Ring of Honor, Ring of Fame in Denver Broncos. He's in the Hall of Fame as the first Black offensive coordinator in the NFL. He held, out of 6 wide receiver records, he held 5 of them for over 30 years, close to 30 years. He was the first wide receiver to ever catch 100 passes in a game. In a season. And he changed the game. Back when he played in the 60s and early 70s, they ran the ball a lot. But when he actually played from 60 to 69, they threw the football. And even now, he's still not in the Hall of Fame as a receiver. He's in the Hall of Fame as a coach. During his years, those couple receivers that got into the Hall of Fame, his one season equaled their career, And of course, he's a black man, Coach Taylor. I had an opportunity to go visit him up in Albuquerque where he retired. But when I tell you guys that he taught me the game, a little bit about his NFL career. He coached at the Steelers for 4 straight years. He coached at Lynn Swann, John Starworth, that crew. And he left after 2 years of winning the Super Bowl. Then he went to the Rams as the offense coordinator. And of course, some of you guys who know it, Campbell, we were little kids. They actually played the Steelers in the Super Bowl. So he's a legend. I can just remember times when he coached me. He not only taught me the game, guys. We would meet at 5 in the morning. And if we came at 5 in the morning, coach, and we had our pajamas on or we hadn't brushed our teeth, he would make us go back, and then come back and get ready for the meeting. When I tell you guys, he would tell me to write up our playbook because I had to write up the playbook in 2 minutes. You know what I mean? And then when I done that, if my zeros, my squares and zeros, you know what I'm talking about, Campbell? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
if they were off, that's an eligible man downfield. That's how he critiqued me so much. And guys, I went from a bench warmer for 3 years. I set the bench 3 years. I thought I was kind of ready my 3rd year until he came in as the head coach. And I went from that to breaking 9 school records in 1 year. You know what I'm saying? And then having a great senior year myself and went on to win the President's Award, the best scholastic athlete at Texas Southern because I played basketball and football. And I really, really at that time got to know him. And coach, he was hard. He was hard. And even today, some of the guys I played with, man, they really continue to hold on to some of those. But some of those same guys, they went on to play professional football because he taught us so much when it came down to the passing game. I mean, releases, coverages, you know, whether it was man, whether it was zone, pre-snap read. We played during Cooley's years, and we also went no huddle. We also had armbands in 1980 something. You know what I mean? We were going no huddle, spread, no back. So we were so dynamic. I mean, we averaged about 30 points a game. You know, we didn't win a lot. We won some, we didn't win a lot. But I just wanted to make sure that I share that with people about how I got where I got. You know, and of course, from the time I left him, you know, he said you would build offense. And one thing he told me, he said, Coach, you're going to have a hard time in this business. I said, Coach, why would you say that? He said, because most of the time it's an egotistical business. And when you get involved, you as a young coach, you're going to know more than most of the coaches that you sit down with and start talking football. And then through my career, I could truly say today he was right. But I can't say enough about him. His name is, again, Lionel Taylor. Look him up. He's on 30 for 30, or just Google his name. You'll see how great he was. You talking about wide receivers? He was the one. He was it, and he is the reason why I'm where I'm at. So I want to say thank you, Coach Taylor, and to his wife. You've been everything to me.
All right, Coach, I know that was your guy, man, and I know it was tough for you to hear the news that you lost your head coach. My condolences to you, your teammates, and the Taylor family, and I just wish you guys comfort in this difficult time.
All right, Coach. Where we at, man? Look, hey, it was a great show, man. It was a great show.
And it wasn't 3 hours.
Hey, my man said, "How did you sit for 3 years and didn't go nowhere?" Well, that's why I went and that's why I went and joined the basketball team. So, and football paid for my schooling, and the basketball team just kept me going for 3 years.
Hey, Coach, were you on the team, the basketball team, or did you play, Coach?
Coach, I started. Let's get that. I started several games, Coach. You know,
Oh, okay.
I had a great high school coach. You know, coaching, man, is not given a lot when you have these great coaches. And I was way advanced when I got on the basketball team than most of the guys. I came out on Sunday, Coach. We had a game on Tuesday, and I played. Because one, I knew the offense of what they were doing. You know, they were doing rotation, and I knew that because we did the same thing in high school. A very good defender. I wasn't a big scorer like I was in high school, but I definitely played every game. I wasn't just on the team I played.
But put some respect on his name, Rocky. He ain't Rudy.
Yeah. Hey, I was concerned. Coach was talking about playing all these walk-ons. I'm like, hey, Coach, you do know I ain't won no championship with Rudy, Coach.
I had to reset that for you because he had like the way he told you, he said he got his guys all covered. I said, hold on, Rocky. I know you right there working the board. I said he must have missed that part. I said, let me let Coach reset that.
Yeah. You know, that's the big thing about walk-ons. You don't necessarily have to have walk-ons. You just keep recruiting and save enough money to put 105 guys on scholarship. The problem is like if you got 63 full scholarships, and let's say each scholarship was $10,000. What is that? $630,000.
Mm-hmm.
So you could get you could fit 105 people into all that equivalency of 63 full scholarships. That's how it works. So I get it that some coaches say, "Oh man, I don't need a walk on. I need to go find me a scholarship guy." And so what you do, you try to use their Pell Grant and stuff to soften your 63 and take that money and give it to somebody else. So I mean, you could recruit all year.
You still got to feed him though, Coach.
Huh?
Still got to feed him.
Well, all that's in with his Pell, with the school scholarship. Let's say he owns some academic money, and of course the loan situation. So it's a way that you can get it done. I kind of like it in a way. Like I said earlier, I got kind of caught up in the same deal, but now it's wide open.
Well, Coach, I want to ask a question because Emmett Jones just said, I don't see any HBCU giving 105 scholars. But let me ask you a question, because even if we had the money, okay, let's just say, Coach, you had the money. Does that mean that you even get better players just because you got 105 scholarships?
Yeah.
Okay.
But let's make sure we're clear. We don't have 105.
No. Listen, I'm talking about we had funded 105 scholarships because that's what it could be. Right. I'm going to the could be now. Right. We have a full 105 fully funded scholarships. Right. Would that improve the talent on the team?
Yes.
Okay, tell us why.
Because now you can go get a kid that's in between of going to another school of being offered a scholarship. He's a scholarship player. He just ain't made his mind up yet. So you can step in now and say, hey, I got some money for you. I know when you hit that 30, when you hit that 30 initial, you can't sign nobody else. Now you can sign people all the way up to the day of camp. You see what I'm saying? So you won't use all your money. You remember when they used to have the recruiting week, that Tuesday, the first Tuesday of February, you turn your list in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to do that now. You can just keep on recruiting. I'm gonna leave me a full scholarship or 4 or 5. I'm gonna leave it behind. Then here come that transfer doing, because these kids are transferring a lot too. You might get a top football player and nobody else done got no money for it. And then here you come say, oh no, shoot, man, it costs $25,000 to go here. I got 15 for you. Oh, and you're a full Pell Grant guy, and then you get college work study. Then you're an academic guy, and you ain't got to stay on campus. You take that money, we're gonna give you a check. You go find your apartment, or I got a set of guys got an apartment. They got one more room up there. So now you living on campus. Back in the day, that scholarship money went to on-campus housing. Now they putting them dollars in them kids' hand. So and one thing I try to do, and even if I was coaching now, I would mandatory that they at least take one meal on campus, and maybe even 2. Breakfast, because I'm gonna have you make sure you on campus at breakfast, because then you go into class, and then maybe dinner. and then you can take the other money and spend it how you want to.
Coach, I'm gonna be honest. I think that's what most of these kids are doing now anyway. Because they ain't got no money, no extra money. They gonna get them meals on campus. So I think that. But one of the biggest things.
You'll be surprised, Camel. Again, of course, I ain't been in the business, but you'll be surprised that they just take the money and won't use it for breakfast. I think, you know, and that's big. And some coaches don't care. I'm big on breakfast because I can see you. And even if today I would make it mandatory breakfast, mandatory, that I can see you, I know you're on campus, and I know you're going to class.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, Coach. I'm answering your question because now the schools, to your point, that's why a lot of the schools, and I was trying to check. I think almost all the schools have a training table now where they've got the meal plans for the kids on the training table. I know FAMU does. I know Jack State does. I know Southern does. I'm pretty sure Prairie View does. Alabama State, I'm pretty sure they do. So I think especially the big schools definitely have the training table where these guys eat on campus, eat lunch on campus, can eat dinner on campus, and then have that extra money to go get something to eat, to get a pizza and stuff.
And I think part of the training table is that they usually provide a meal or a snack inside the locker room during or after workout.
Right, exactly.
Now, what level y'all talking about?
I'm talking about. I was just talking about the SWAC. I was just talking about the SWAC.
Yeah, some of the SWAC schools in the mid, they don't have that access of feeding the kids outside of their scholarship. You see what I'm saying? Because you gotta pay for that. You gotta show that. You gotta show that they're gonna want that money from you, that cafeteria, the outside. Because it's outside people. It's not the school that's making the food. You know that.
So you mean that there's no school in the SWAC that during a late practice or something like that that's bringing granola bars and?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm answering. No, they do. That's what I'm saying. That's separate. No, just like Jack, you literally saw this on Coach Prime. The football team had their own spread to eat. That was already paid for. That didn't come out of their scholarship money. That was money for the training table, the food table that was set up. So to Coach Cole's point, they still had that money was extra.
And everybody don't do that. I can guarantee you that. Yeah. Everybody ain't doing it.
And what I'm saying is the term training table means, I think by definition, to feed the kid outside of the structure of the general student's meal plan. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the general student's meal plan may get however many meals a week.
But that's what Coach is saying. That's what Coach is saying, that if you're not on the quote unquote meal plan, you don't get to go in the cafeteria to eat. Yeah.
And they'll try to live off the training table. I get what you're saying.
That's right. And they would take that money that Coach is saying because they would just give the money. So you're not on the meal plan. The money goes to your pocket, but Coach is saying, no. I need you to make sure you're eating breakfast here. So, hey, I know you keep your weight up. What I'm saying is most schools that went from, like Alabama, all the any Power 5 school, you notice, they have a separate cafeteria for their kids to eat. What I'm saying, it is several SWAC schools that have now instituted that where those kids can go in there and eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right.
But that's not part of usually the training table is outside of that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But in totality, that's what I'm saying. That's still part of it.
But that's what I'm saying, though, Rocky. Some of the HBCU don't have that. They don't have that outside of the
meal plan.
The plan. So what they try, what you got to do, you got to be telling your kids, look, I'll let you stay off campus, but you know, you're going to get 2 meal plans.
So who is this Jay Boone? You mean your football players don't get fed outside the hours of the cafeteria? They have to.
No, they don't.
Wow.
Yeah. And see, Rocky, I'm going to put in, this is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm going to put this in the chat. So, which just goes back to so you can understand what that definition, this is the definition. So right there, hold on, got enough. Let's see that go. Yep, there we go. So see, it's not granola bars. It's actually meals for the train. That's what that means. So that's what I'm saying. So Jackson State, so case in point, And I can't, and again, I'm just kind of thinking back. I know, fam, you didn't have it. I know once Dion was like, hey, we got to get this training table. We got to get this finance. Jack State had, then everybody else that had money, fam, you fall behind. I can say, like, boo.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. It's just so, yeah, I get it.
So it's two things like Coach Cole is saying before, like Coach said, if you stayed off campus, you couldn't go in the cafeteria because you didn't have a meal plan because your money was deducted and went for you to pay your outside. So what you had just had cash in your pocket. So like Coach said,
actually they give you a room and board. They give you a check for your room and board.
Right. But if you take that money, again, it's not regulated. So if you blow your money, you still might not eat. But now what's happening is now we guarantee you still can get that money.
Right.
And still be able to eat, which is very important. Because if you hear, I think one of our coaches talked about this, coach of the middle of the matter of fact, that might be, what was that? One of our coaches came on last year and he was talking about, and coach, you know this, one of the biggest things was keeping weight on during the middle of the season of the guys. That's why they wanted to make sure they were eating and things like that. And that was why it was so important they had gotten that training table.
Right. And see, and then a kid can only be awarded so much money towards the scholarship. You know, they give you a little extra money over the top of that, and that's why those big schools are able to have. And I shouldn't say big schools. I should say schools that's really, really big on their football program.
Well-funded football program.
They have those training tables. And
so I didn't realize that training table meals was any kind of meal that was supervised just for the athletes. Because you know, a lot of meals are supervised for the athletes because they may be practicing during dining room hours. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, no one says some of them the big schools have a separate cafeteria for their athletes, but that's considered the athletic training table eating. That's what it is. What I'm saying on the HBCU level is just what Coach Cole, just the fact they can go in the cafeteria, or like Jack State has a separate dining room for the football players now and their athletes.
Yeah. Because I remember you got to put all that in. You got to put all that into your budget. You know what I'm saying? That, hey, we want a training table. First thing they're going to ask you, who going to pay for it? Is the athletic department going to pay for it? Who going to pay for it? And if you can get that, that's a part of your budget as a head football coach.
Well, that's one of the things, and Coach, you know that's one of the things when that started. That was part of the recruiting against people. We'll feed you. You know what I mean? I literally heard that in the last 3 years. Those guys don't feed you over there. We feed you over there. You know, pull it up, Coach. Coach, what number were you, Coach? That's you right there. Wait, hold on, you got 23, Coach?
No, it's 13.
Oh, 13. Okay, I was like, hold on. Wait, you was in your Jordan year, Coach?
Hey, Coach, I just want to make sure I understand, let folks know that I played college basketball and football, and I played, Coach. Because sometimes, you know, folk think
hey, Coach, you were before Dion and Bo Jackson, huh?
Oh, no, wait, no. I'm gonna give Coach one better. No, you know who Coach was. No, he was not Dion Boyd. Coach was the forerunner before Charlie Ward. That's who Coach was.
Oh yeah.
There you go, Coach. There you go, Coach. There you go. But no, man, I just have fun, man. I tell you, I always tell folks I'm blessed, man. I always get good people around me, man. That's why we always win, baby. We winning, baby. Hopefully they can give us a podcast award for something.
I want to say this because this brings out something that was brought to my attention. Anonymous caller called me talking about Southern. And he said to me, he says, hey, Southern identity as a blue blood program is really rooted in the success of one modern coach, which is Pete Richardson. If you take away Pete Richardson's success at Southern, they're like Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Prairie View, all those other schools. They have one championship in the last 55 years. And he says, so their high self-esteem or expectations may be rooted in the exaggerated image that they have of themselves because the Southern program is largely in the greatness is largely built on the back of the hiring of Coach Cole's high school coach, which is Pete Richardson. Outside of that, you don't have another great coach that you can point to in modern. We know about A.W. Mumford, but I'm talking about in the last 55 years, since I was born in 1970,
And he
there's
was
been
in
one
60s,
championship.
Coach.
There's been one championship won by a coach that wasn't Pete Richardson by Southern. Now go ahead, Coach.
No, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
One thing for
yeah,
Coach.
I got that
Wait,
same
Coach.
call
Wait, one
today.
thing. Now, Rocky, just tell the truth. Somebody from Jack State called you. Let them put it out there.
No, it wasn't.
All right, Coach, go ahead.
No, it
I
wasn't.
just got that call today, Coach. And my man so graciously put it on there. They only beat 3 winning teams. They 3-16. And here's the difference. Florida A&M, you got Rudy, you got Jay Gaithers. You know what I mean? You got Simmons. You know, they got multiple coaches. Yeah, Billy Joe. They got multiple coaches won championships. Jackson State, you got W.C. Gordon. You got T. Taylor. You know,
Carson.
You got Carson. You got
Big John Merritt, Bob Hill.
Right. You know, then you look at the G-Man. You know, you got your Eddie Robinsons, you got your Doug Williams, you got your Melvin Spears, you got your Rob Broadways, you got your Fobs. Championship, they don't lean on, you know, we had a good record. They lean on championships.
Woo!
Hey, look, I was waiting on your boy White. I was going to bring him on back, Perry White. You know what I mean? With all this, what we stand for over here in Southern. Well, you weren't standing for nothing for years. And you don't let the man go, Pete Richardson. You know what I'm saying? But I get it, though. And y'all always had fans, Coach. Fans were never a problem. Look, if you can, here's what they can say. We the championship of fans. We're gonna fill the house up. No matter who the head coach is, we're gonna fill up the house. But when you start putting, and that was unfair to put that type of pressure on Coach Graves. I know Coach Graves is a great coach, been around a long time, but it ain't right. You know, I think they need to just grow with him. You know, he did a great job his first year, grow with him. But don't tell me, and I wish I would have known this last. We slipped on this one, guys. We usually have the numbers right. We let Perry get away with it.
What'd he say?
Y'all not a blue blood program, Coach.
You're not gonna get a blue blood coach?
No.
Ooh, Coach, listen. You go out of board 5. Hey, listen, Coach. Now, Coach. So let me. All right. So I'm going to defend Southern. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to defend Southern. This is why I said, because when this argument started, why I said Southern was one of the blue bloods along with FAMU, Jack State, Grambling.
I don't have a vote, so keep me out of this.
Tennessee State, South Carolina. Those are my blue bloods. The two things I will give the gap in the championship, but what I also say, because you know, this is Adrian Cook always talking about this. They want to say Crook. Like I told you, it's all the things we're voting on, except for the Celebration Bowl championships and FAMU's. Everybody else was voting on. But what Southern has done, which I think that gives them that right, is Hall of Famers, winning seasons, and conference champ. Wait a minute, hold on, this is my list. As they say, this is my list. So I'm saying that you can refute this. Hold on. Because when people look at, because what I can say is, I can look at the University of Michigan. They don't have a bunch of national championships compared to the other blue bloods. But they got a whole bunch of conference championships, a whole bunch of All-Americans. And that's why people consider, and they win a lot. They have a lot of wins. That's why people consider Michigan. So Michigan in your equation, because Michigan don't win. Look, Michigan last time they won championship was back, when was that?
94.
Huh?
What, 94? Yeah.
And then you got to go before 94. It was what, in the 60s? So they won 3 championships in 50 years, Michigan. So Michigan a blue blood coach?
Well, how many coaches won championships?
So
only 3.
So let me.
Okay, 3.
So Southern's got 2.
Thank you. That's what
so
I'm
wait,
saying.
I think that's what I'm saying. But okay, so because Michigan got 3 championships, 3 over 50 years, you would consider them based off of your criteria a blue blood.
How many? Go on, Coach. Hold time out. How many Big Ten championships do Michigan got?
Okay,
A whole bunch.
Wait a minute. So, but Southern is only number 2 behind Grambling in SWAC championships. So what?
But you count their championships from 50 years ago, Coach.
Well, so is FAMU, so is Jackson State,
No,
so
sir.
is
No, sir.
so is Tuskegee, so is Tennessee. Coach, see, this is why I don't see this is the thing. Now, this is why I'm gonna stand on this is that you can't make a cutoff just because you weren't born during that time.
No. That's not okay. That's not what I was doing, Campbell. What I was simply saying, and let me say this: I'm not in a position to say whether Southern is a blue blood or not, right? Because I think the criteria is kind of wonky. What I was talking about, Coach, is this, and this is what I'm saying. When Perry comes here and puts those championship expectations on Terrence Graves, right? When the championship aspect of Southern being a blue blood was built on the back of one coach primarily, right? Am I lying?
When I got there in '93 with Pete Richardson, Southern hadn't won a championship in 35 years in 1993. That's all I'm saying.
So Rocky, so let me get this straight. Because of the length of time and one guy did it and built that program in the modern era, not the H month. So you will say the modern era. So to me, the modern era is pre-integration, post-integration. That's my
okay.
So 1970 on, 1970 back.
I was born in 1970. Yes.
Right. But see, that's when the integration was. You know what I'm saying? That's when, and everything. So that's why I look at the era like that. So I guess what my question is, with that being said, they've got 20 conference championships. So, Cole, let me ask you a question. How many conference championships?
Since 1970?
No. Overall, total.
They have 6. They have 6 in between 1970 and today.
Okay.
5 of which were won by Pete Richardson.
Okay. So there you go. So they've got 6. Jackson State probably got more. And Grambling definitely has the most in that era. You have facts. I know that for a fact.
Jackson State got 6 in the 80s.
Right. So there you go. So now, Rocky, I like this discussion. So post-integration, when you start looking at it, then that's when it kind of says what you're saying. Because then they start counting all the stuff from Ace Mumford, which I'm not going to say because that's just like us saying we ain't going to count Jay Gaither. You know what I'm saying? And ain't nobody fan you going to lie.
And I'm not saying that you don't
Coach,
count.
Let's just go from 78. First of all, FAMU have won the first first FCS national championship.
Hold on, Cole. Let me say that. Let me say. Do you know there's suckers in this chat? I ain't gonna say this name that think that don't mean nothing because they weren't born. Listen, that's why I'm saying. That's why I don't even want to hear them. And I'm gonna call them a sucker, and they know the suckers are. Because the fact that you don't think that's something important, let me know you don't know nothing about football. So you can move on.
First championship. And then you have Rudy Hubbard. Give them to me, Coach.
Billy Joe.
Willie Simmons, right?
Yep.
Got 4. How many MEAC championships they don't won? Several, right? Several MEAC championships. All right, then you look at Jackson State. You look at what I'm saying is coaches have came in there and took them programs because those are the type of programs you take. Evidently, the school is dedicated to having a winning football program. The fans. One thing I can say about Southern University, now they ban is blue blood. They ban is blue blood, but we ain't talking about ban now.
Well, this is the argument was and we got to get Josh on here. So Josh pissed off a lot of Jack State people because Jack State doesn't have as many national championships. Just bracket to your point, pre-integration post, they don't have as many as the Grambling, FAMU, those other South Carolina State. So to that point, that's when Josh was like, well, Jack State is not no blue blood. But see, that's why I think that question also has to count for players produced, conference championships, overall winning percentage, and things like that.
Because they had 5 coaches that win the SWAC. Coach, 5 coaches that won the SWAC.
Coach,
5.
Jackson State. And again, I'm not a Jackson State apologist, but this is what I will say. Jackson State has won championships in every decade. And when I say championships, they won multiple championships
SWAC championships, not national championships. SWAC.
Yeah, SWAC
SWAC
championship.
championships.
Yeah.
Well, those are championships, right?
Yeah, well, no, I wanted to make sure
So-
because
yeah,
there
so
was
here's what we said.
wait, hold on. I want to clip because you're making a great point. I'm making a point because there was an argument Josh made that those conference championships didn't mean that's why he said Jack State wasn't the blue blood. That's why I'm pointing out what you're pointing out. So I just want to add on to that.
Here's what I'm saying. Here's what we discussed the other day. How we're Southern and we expect to win SWAC championships. There. This is what I'm saying. Those programs, Jackson State, Grambling,
FAMU,
they truly expect to win championships because they don't care who the head coach, because so many head coaches have came in there and won it. So yeah, their expectation is when we hire a coach, we hire because of 5 guys came before you, we expect you to be winning championships. Not no one guy. You know what I mean? Terrence Gray's coming from one guy. And I know Odom had some good years. Don't get me wrong. He had some good years. Don't get me wrong. But he got to win a SWAC championship, Coach.
He won in 2013. He won one SWAC championship in 2013. Shout out to Odom. But what I was simply saying.
So 2 guys in 34 years. No, it's been 2 guys in
55, Coach.
55 years have won a SWAC. And you're saying that we are a championship football program? And we're going to take Terrence Graves in his 2nd year and say, hey, man, you need to win the national championship. Or you need to win a SWAC championship. No, sir. No, sir. That's too much pressure, man. If the guy have another good year, they need to give him another chance.
And this is what I'm saying. Like, what I was simply saying is you got to understand, guys, I don't have the history of the entire SWAC and all. I don't know it off the top of my head. So what I have to do is go look and do the research. And when the gentleman asked me to go look and do the research, he says, hey, Rock, Southern is a tremendous school, a great program. They have a tremendous history. He says, but to be perfectly honest with you, that elite football history that they brag about and talk about, that really is about Pete Richardson and those 17 years he was at Southern. It's really not about the Southern program. It's about Pete Richardson. And for them to expect Terrence Graves to be Pete Richardson, that's grossly unfair.
And let me say this, Coach. And they pushed Coach out. Coach didn't walk away. They pushed him out, Coach.
Well, I don't know about that, Coach.
Coach, I know because I beat him. That year they had us beat with 1:50 left, and we ended up winning the game. That's the year.
His last year was 2009, I want to say, Coach, right?
Right. When he had that 2009 season, and that's the year that they let him go. They pushed him out. Coach. Coach had a couple more years, or Coach could have picked his predecessor, and that's when they brought Stone Mitchell in there. The year after that, in 2010.
That's what. The only point that the person who called me was making is, what is Southern without the history of Pete Richardson? And we're not talking about Eddie Robinson. We're not talking about 30 or 40 years of coaching. We're talking about less than 2 decades that Pete Richardson was there. What is the program in the last 55 years without Pete Richardson's record and championships? That's all the point what person was bringing up to me. And I'll ask you, Adrian Crook, what is Southern without Pete Richardson's success?
You'll have definite silence.
Let me say while we wait on that. When Eddie Robinson retired, Doug Williams took over and won SWAC and national championship.
That's why you can't argue Grambling. You can't.
Robinson
won national championship every decade.
And then Doug passed it on to his cousin Melvin Spears, and he won national and SWAC championships. Then it went on to Broadway, who won SWAC and national championships. Then it went on over to Fives, who won SWAC championships. That's where you say, hey, man, SWAC and national championship, that's our goal. That's what we shooting at.
Hey, Rock, I can pull this up. Coach just asked this official AD, why don't we say that about Grambling without Eddie Robinson? Because he just named 5 other coaches after Eddie Robinson that won national championships. That's the whole point. He just literally answered your question. He said, one way you don't say that about Grambling. So if you even take that away.
That's why you say why Pete Richardson was so great. Hell, he beat Eddie 9 games in a row. You know, and it was at Eddie Robinson's end of his year, but Pete beat him 8 or 9 in a row in the Bayou Classic.
So this is a great point that this gentleman is making. He says, Rocky, but that's every team. You can take away coaches from every team. You're right. You're right. If you take Markham or Barlow away from Alabama State, then you have that situation. But
Barlow didn't win no championships.
Oh, sorry.
Barlow didn't win no SWAC.
Sorry. My point is, yeah, Southern is more, in my opinion, once the guy broke it down to me, Southern is really closer to Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Prairie View than they are.
Hell, Pine Bluff don't won just as many championships if you take Pete Richards out there.
Yeah, Pine Bluff has won too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If you take, listen to my context. If you take Pete Richardson out, his history out, Southern is closer to those, to Alabama State, Alabama A&M, and Prairie View.
That's right. No, you can't name Prairie View, man. Prairie View down there with Texas Southern.
No, I'm just saying that, but they won one championship in the modern era, though.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna fight. Listen, just for the sake, this is the reason why. Okay, so let me say this. This is the exact reason why I brought the Southern folks up. Because let me tell you something. I've got a bunch of family from Southern. They watch this show, and they watch a lot of shows. And I will say, which is pretty interesting to me, Southern is not overly indexed with a lot of like the YouTube podcasters, right? You don't have a bunch of like Jack. They got 5 million up. Jack Fam, you got people out. Southern as bigger brand, and you would think they would have a bunch of Southern people, right? They don't. So you hear a lot of, as my cousin said, we got a lot of people that talk ish about Southern, and we Southern. I said, okay, let's bring the Southern people on. I think Perry and BJ did an excellent job. But this is the point where I want to say what Southern people have said to me, and goes back to what I consider a blue blood. When you have won conference championships, Hall of Famers, one thing I will say about Southern, and I think this is correct, they've got the most consistency of winning consistently, not winning championships, but they're always in the mix of. And I think Brian then broke that down overall. Brian from ONG Drake, so he did by decade, right? And I think Southern was the old school by decade that had over 500 winning percentage. Now I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying what he pointed out.
And let me say this, Mr. Campbell. You can't take away Pete's contribution to the Southern mystique in history. So what I'm saying is that the overwhelming majority of the expectations that the people have about Southern and Southern coaches is about the success of Pete Richardson. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're not a blue blood. I'm not saying you're not one of the most accomplished programs in HBCU history. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying is a lot of that was built on the back of Pete Richardson's time at Southern, and to put those expectations on a coach in his second year is grossly unfair, in my opinion.
Exactly. I believe I agree with you 150%, Coach.
What do you think? What do you think, Campbell?
Listen, listen, man. I grew up in that area. I grew up in that rivalry. And I am telling you, and Crook will tell you, and all those other guys tell you, nothing makes them see more to see Jackson State going to Atlanta and they sitting at home. I'm telling you, that is driving them crazy. So with that being, and you gotta understand something, that Jackson, because that's the linchpin of this discussion. Because you talking about a rivalry, coach, like I say, he knows this. It goes in spurts. Jackson State won a whole bunch. Then Jackson State got down. Then Southern won 8, 9 in a row. Now guess what? Jackson State is on their road. Those two schools, because they're so close and so interlocked, they got national championships. They say we got 20, they got 20, and things like that. So Southern looks at it that way. I think Jackson State people look at it and say, now, wait a minute now. To coach's point, we have done it more consistently over the years than you all. And now we're on another run. People, like I said, I got to get Jackson State on the run. They have won 3 out of the last 4 SWAC championships.
let me say this, Graylin Hammonds. No, man, we not penalizing Southern for Pete Richardson's for his 17 successful years. We're saying that Pete Richardson is Southern. And you guys let him go in 2009, and you ain't won a SWAC championship then or 34 years before he showed up in 1992.
They won one, Coach. They won one.
They won one. I'm sorry. And you won one.
And that's not a national championship. That's just a conference championship.
Right. They won one SWAC championship. Pete Richardson won several national championships. Do I need to get my ring out again?
Southern, I'm trying to fight for you, Southern. But y'all listen. But
no. You got to understand. I personally don't have a dog in this fight. I'm not putting Southern down in any way. I want to understand when Perry and talks about what the expectations are at Southern. You got to understand the 5 years that I've been in this space, right? I don't understand where the championship expectations come because of what the recent history of the conference is. So I got to go back and look at the history of the conference. And then
they want to go back
and gave me some history about the conference. And he's like, oh, watch this.
I know what White want to say, Perry White want to say, is all the Eastern side championships they won. You know,
the division banners.
Yeah,
division banners, Coach. They count the division banners.
Yeah. But I want him to keep it right there. You know, have expectations to win the pennant, you know, or the division. But winning the SWAC championship, Coach, it ain't like y'all done that a lot.
Well, Rocky, let me tell you what's funny about, and this goes back to my point about purview. I think this is a point because as you know, listen, I'm gonna say this, and anybody can call in and want to challenge it. We got a whole bunch of people that went to these schools that were not talking about football until Dion came. Because I know it, because there's a whole bunch of people. I say, hey, do you remember such and play? Oh, I don't remember that. So first of all, Rocky, it's all snapshot. Because I'll tell you this, before Willie Simmons, if you would have saw us 5 years before that, you would have thought that he was a blue blood. If you would have saw Jack State 5 years before Dion, you would have thought Jack State was a blue blood. Everybody has their times and things like that. But to Coach Cole's point, what to me is once again, you're going to have consistently, no matter what, you might have a down period, but you're going to have more up periods. So when you're going 50, 60, 70, 80s, 2000, 2010, 20. So again, to Coach's point, we won a national championship just 2 years ago and won the first one in 1978 that nobody else has done. That's HBCU. That's solidified. South Carolina State has one playoff game. They got all those Hall of Famers. They have won national championship in all those decades. And a lot of people don't give South Carolina State credit for the greatness of their program. They won more MEAC championships than anybody. So when you start looking at this, so to your point is when you start saying conference championships, national championships, that's the thing about, and Southern, this is the hard pill to swallow. When somebody brings out, when you're talking about playing the big dog and y'all are 3-16, man, and you are old and something since FAMU and Jack State have been in the conference together. That's tough, man. That is real tough. So
we got to call. Hey, we got to call the call. Let me see if the caller's online. Call you live on HBCU Coaches Corner. Hold on, let me see if I can get him right, man.
All three, baby.
Can you hear me? Hold on.
Because I'm gonna say this, Rocky, while you getting that together. That's
Go
why
ahead.
this game was,
Go ahead.
Let me just say this one thing. That's why this game for Southern's MEAC SWAC championship is a must win for Southern. A point blank, period. I'm sorry. It is.
Yeah, I mean, you say it's
a must. We know that's for 21-20. But that's what I'm saying. For 21 to 24, 3-16, not blue blood.
Hold on, let me mute this. Get your background down. Cut your background down. You're like, hey, last 4, 8182. You're live on HBCU Coaches Corner because we ain't gonna be here all night. Go ahead, guys.
What's up, fellas?
What's going on, Coach Green? What's going on?
Yes, slow motion. Down here in Florida, trying to get through this hot weather.
Yeah,
but so I'm sitting there trying to understand something, man. Coach Cole, you know this. You know this for a fact. every time a coach come in and they win a lot, and somebody come behind that person, the pressure gonna be on no matter how you put it. Pressure is on. Just like with the coach that's at Alabama right now. With him coming behind Nick Saban, pressure is on him. Anybody come behind a winningest coach, the pressure gonna be on. I know you say it's unfair. Of course, it may be unfair, but when you come behind somebody like that, and that person is known for winning, the pressure gonna be on whoever comes behind that person.
But Graves don't have that pressure, Coach. What are you talking about? Graves don't have that pressure.
Who he coming behind?
Yeah. What are you talking about?
See, stop. This is what y'all not understanding. It don't matter how long ago that person is coach, that person coach. You still gonna be under that shadow because the program was known for winning under him. And then Odom got there. Odom was winning. But that's all he got. He was just winning. I don't hear Coach Cole. What is Coach Cole saying?
Hold on. Let me. He must be muted. Hold on, my bad. Go ahead, Coach.
But Coach Green, we talking about Alabama. Alabama, one of the top football programs in the world. I think I get where you're going, but in this situation, like Coach was saying, Graves ain't following Pete Richardson. You know what I'm saying? Graves ain't following him. And what we were saying, Coach Green, is
Graves following Dooley.
Are you looking at Southern as a national championship football program when they won? When the last time they won a national championship? When the last time they won a SWAC championship?
But all right. Since you want to go there, Penn State is known as one of them type of teams. And when the last time they won one?
And you know they got a full and a whole bunch of pressure on that guy, but they're smart enough to know that he's a good coach, and as long as he continue to go 10-1 and 9-2, he's been there, right? And he ain't won no Big Ten, and that's what I'm saying about how can Southern turn around, and Southern ain't no Penn State. How can they turn around and put this pressure on Graves?
They consistently
give Graves a chance.
Southern been a consistent winner, like Mr. Campbell said, they've been a consistent winner, just like Penn State have been a consistent winner. So what you talking about?
And they kept him
at the end of the day, you can't. And
he ain't won a Big Ten championship since he been there at Penn State. He ain't won one. He ain't beat Ohio State.
As of right now.
And then got two raises.
Yeah. And then now y'all gonna take Graves, a first year head coach, and put him on like, oh man, it's either championship or bust. That's not right. That's not fair.
But hold up. You can't really say that because we don't know what's gonna happen after this season. Now, after the season, happened and something happened, then you can sit there and judge that. But you can't judge it right now.
Well, that's the same thing we saying. You're saying exactly what we're saying. You can't say, hey, man, you got to win the championship.
No, that's what the Southern guys came on here.
Yes.
I don't know if you watched that episode of HBCU Coaches Corner. This past Tuesday, we had B.J. Jones and Perry White, and they said the standard at Southern is championship.
It's the standard.
But you see right there, you talking about what fans are saying.
Well, that's who we talk to. That's what our audience is. That's who we interact with.
Fans don't say anything. Fans gonna say what they gonna say. That's what happened.
That's what we were saying. That's what you were saying. Exactly what we were saying.
When you agree that fans are the ones that got duly axed?
No, Dooley did some other stuff that got him axed. It wasn't about the fans as much. It was about some other stuff. it's more to it than what the fans were saying. And Perry pretty much broke it down to y'all.
He said, Perry specifically said he talked to us like we was crazy as fans and me. He was he said if you had to do it all over again about starting Glennon McDowell at quarterback, would you do it over? And he said, no, I'd do the same thing over again. And he said the fans went nuts on him.
But you also got to understand.
But you agreeing with us, Coach Green, because you are
Coach Green, you agreeing with that?
I'm not agreeing with most of the stuff y'all saying. Because y'all keep on trying to take away well, they only known for winning under Pete Richardson. You can't do that, man. That's everybody. Every school got that one coach that they known for.
You missing our point. You said you started off and you mentioned Alabama. Nick Saban done won 6 championships. 4 of them at Alabama.
Yes, he had.
Here come the guy right behind him. You right. Even before Nick got there, they had another coach who win national championship.
Gene Stallings.
Yeah. And before him, of course, Bill Bryant set the standard that Alabama plays national championship football every year. So that's a whole different story from Southern University. Now, Grambling?
Okay.
Yeah, Grambling is Alabama.
Okay.
Jackson State is
What
Alabama.
about Michigan?
Florida A&M
what
is
about
Alabama.
Michigan then? What about Michigan?
I'll say this. Up until Harbaugh, Michigan's lore and legacy was largely built under Bo Schembechler.
Let me say this. That's up in my neck of the woods. It ain't about winning the national championship between Michigan and Ohio State. They play for the conference championship to get them to the national championship game every year. Every year. It's between Michigan and Ohio State. Who wins that game to get a chance to go to the championship?
Most of them coaches before Jim Harbaugh only last 3 years.
You comparing apples to oranges, and that's what we're saying. Southern is not Michigan. Southern is not Ohio State. That's playing for a SWAC championship every year, or even every other year, or since Pete Richardson.
So let me ask you this: because this is what may be clouding my perception of what Southern truly is. What do you put division championship in this conversation? Do you include division championships as part of the lore and mystique of Southern?
Yes, you include all that. All that's included.
Well, let me ask you this question then. Since you included, I bet you, and tell me this. I'll do this or something without Googling. Tell me how division championships y'all won right now. You couldn't answer. I bet you know how many conference championships you won. You see the difference? You know how many national championships you won. You see the difference?
Okay.
So that's what, so I'm going to Rocket Point. No, you don't even know how many division championships y'all won. I know.
But
Green,
when it comes to national
Coach Green, be a coach and take your heart out of
it. When it comes to blue blood stuff, it's all that like you said, Mr. Camp, all that's included with.
No, I agree. No, I agree. See, I agree. That's the reason why I said I'm not going to discount. So again, this is me. Because people still, like I said, we have a lot, and we got a lot of millennials and whatever else behind it. They didn't see the Jack State great team. They didn't see the FAMU great teams. Hell, a lot of them didn't know they weren't even born Eddie Robinson. So for them, and I'm telling you, most of these folks came with Deion, so their limited knowledge is Deion on. That's why it tickles me when the Central people start chirping. I'm like, bro, Central, Trey Oliver is Trey Oliver. Trey Oliver, listen, don't come for me talking about Central. Central is a great program right now, but they ain't no blue blood program. They're not compared to FAMU or South Carolina State. So my point of it is with Southern, that's why if I look at it, if people going to make I can't do a cutoff at 2000. I can't do a cutoff at 2003 because again, we start doing that, then FAMU and Jackson State get screwed, and I'm not going to let that get screwed because our history means something. We made history. You see what I'm saying, Rocky? And I'll tell you what's funny, and we know, and Jackson State people know this, the people that should have played for the first championship was FAMU and Jackson State. They put the black people against each other on the same side of the bracket on purpose. So people don't understand that the team we beat to get to the final was Jackson State.
Exactly.
So my thing is, Coach, when you look, and Coach, I'm going to be honest with you, because Coach, you're around our age, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the problem. It's y'all young folks that don't respect the history because they're looking at, well, Southern ain't been to the Celebration Bowl. Southern ain't, you know what I'm saying? That's what a lot of people do in the Celebration Bowl era. So let's just use what that almost 10 years. That's what people are judging on. Southern ain't been, Jackson State done been 3 times, Alcorn done been 3 times, Grambling been 2 times. Damn, you just got in the conference, been there 1 time. You see what I'm saying? Southern has not been 1 time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at for the young folks, that's why they can even make that argument. I don't agree with it, but I'm just talking about how things look when people have a very limited scope and only want to have a measured block.
Hey, before we let you go, I just want to ask this one question, Coach Green. What is the standard at Southern?
The standard is winning.
Winning what, Coach?
Winning championships. The standard is winning championships. That's the standard.
All right. Hey, well, thank you, Coach. You're in alignment with Perry
All right.
and BJ. Caller, you're live on HBCU Coaches Corner. What's your name and where you calling from?
This is Chuck Hunt calling from Monroe, Louisiana. Interesting conversation you all are having here about blue bloods. It's been
No. Listen. This is not about blue bloods. Right. This is about, let me frame it up. This is not blue bloods.
No.
I think Coach Campbell.
Okay.
We're not asking about blue blood. What is Southern without the Pete Richardson era? What is Southern?
Oh, okay. That's what you all are asking. Okay. I was calling. No, I don't want to get offended. I just trying that you all just talking about all the great teams. I came to the time of Coach Eddie Robinson. That's all I was about to say. I came to the time of Eddie Robinson when he broke Bear Bryant's record. And got to that his 400 victory, and I saw those great Grambling teams in the 80s. I saw W.C. Gordon's teams at Jackson State in the 80s and the early 90s, and we knew Coach Gordon quite well. One nicest people, away from the game, you saw him. Yeah, he had some great teams. I saw all those guys play, like John McKenzie and Shannon Boyd and Sean Gregory and all those guys. And yeah, had some great teams.
Yeah. Hey, let me get in here too, and my man, you'll appreciate it. When Eddie Robinson left, he left this legendary that Grambling win championships. Can we agree?
100%.
When Doug Williams took over and had 3 winning seasons and won a national championship, we didn't have this talk.
Yeah,
then when Melvin Spears took over and won a national championship and the SWAC championship, we didn't have this talk.
I was at that game.
When Fobbs came in and took over, I'm talking about Broadway came and took over. He won the SWAC championship and national championship. Then Fobbs came in and won the championship as well. We didn't have these talks where people was like, because Grambling's standard was the standard.
Yeah.
It was the
I saw it. I understand. Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, Southern come up now and talking about, man, we putting all this pressure on Coach Graves. They coach, man, you don't win no national championship. Are you serious? Hell, the last time was Pete Richardson, and before that, it was back in the 60s. That's all I'm saying.
Coach Cole, you were talking. Coach Cole, you were talking about your basketball. Did you play under Robert Moreland?
Who's that?
Okay.
I played under Coach Moreland. Yeah, I played under Coach Moreland.
Okay, great coach. Yeah, but this is it's been an interesting conversation, Rocky, and this I'm glad you all just talking about it. And Campbell and some you brought up South Carolina State. Yeah, you go and talking about that's Willie Jeffries and Buddy Pugh, and even people forget about Bill Davis. He has some great teams there as well at South Carolina State. Yeah, there's some good teams there there in Orangeburg, South Carolina.
All right. All right, man. Thank you for calling in, Chuck.
All
We
right.
always appreciate your
All right.
contribution to the show,
All
brother.
right, always great conversing with you all. All right, you all take care. Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey,
So-
tell Adrian Cook, hey man, Pete coached me in high school. Man, I know Pete coached him. I know his family and his me and his daughter is close. Pete like an uncle to me, man. Be quiet.
Crook, he's all that I appreciate about Cook, he makes sure he get us views. But Cook
Yeah.
he one of them young boys, coach. So he's one of them young guys.
That's why I'm giving him a shout out, coach.
Yeah, he
Don't
one,
give him a
but
shout out.
he here. I appreciate him being there. Give us a view. We need every view we can get.
No. And this ain't about hate, man. This is just a guy who didn't grow up following SWAC football, who doesn't in the aware of the history of the SWAC, trying to understand why BJ and Perry was insistent that this year the expectation for Coach Graves is championships. It didn't make any sense based on what I had seen the previous 5 years. And then as I dug a little deeper and had a little more conversation, I understood that the expectations of championships was largely built by Coach Richardson. And Coach Richardson, though he won several SWAC championships, if you take that success away from Southern, you have the 2013 SWAC championship, and then you don't have anything else in the last 55 years. And what would you say about a program who's won one championship in 55 years? Now, again, you can't take away the success of Pete Richardson from Southern, but we can have an intellectual conversation
Absolutely.
about what Pete Richardson's contribution is to the Southern legacy and history and mystique. And should we put those expectations on one Terrence Graves, who's a second-year head coach?
Well, see, that's the thing, Rocky. What I'm trying to tell you, I think a little bit has to do when you're looking at your rival, right, which is Jackson State, that you've had success against, depending on what era you grew up in, right, and things about that. Because, like I say, they went on a roll with Odom. They had a roll, but then Jackson State waxed them with Carson and WC and Bob Hill. You know what I mean? John Merritt. So when you look at it, I think this is more personal for Southern than to your point of being objective, right? They're more like we're looking at Jackson State up the highway. We should always be equal to Jackson. We should, and just like Jackson
Or
State,
Grambling.
right, exactly. So look at there are two people that they're always beefing with, have a level of success that they believe should be theirs. The problem, to your point, is as again, the Celebration Bowl era, they have not shown that. Then you start going all the way back to Pete Richardson. Then you go back to Ace Mumford. So there's gaps there. But I think I understand Perry and, like I say again, BJ's thing is that I'm not mad at teams having championship expectations and fan bases, because this is the thing now. Would you look at what Prairie View? You bless Lionel's heart. Great time you on Lionel and stuff like Lionel's. I wasn't offended and stuff like that. But them folks at Prairie View, I know old Prairie View alums. They starting to stick their chest out. They really believe, which I believe Coach Jackson is going to create havoc in the SWAC. But people start having a standard, and then they look at other people, just like FAMU. FAMU, we were down, but we knew what the standard was. FAMU hadn't won anything in 6-7 years. We were 1-10 before Willie got there. But best show bomb down, the first thing, anybody watching 220 Club, ask Cozy when he go in that 220 Club. It's gonna be somebody gonna quote Jake Gates. They literally just did it. They asked Coach, did he know what blood, sweat, tears was, Coach?
Can I say this too, Coach? Of course, I've been in the game over 35 years, 40 years. And when you talk about national championships, guys, let's just talk about the upper echelon. Your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Michigans, your Clemsons, your USC, These are programs that every other year they get in the championship, regardless of who the head coach is. You know what I mean? So their standard is a lot different from some other standards because they've been there and done that. Well, when you go to HBCUs, Grambling. You're going to talk about Grambling. You're going to talk about Florida A&M. You're going to talk about Tennessee State. You know what I'm saying? You're going to talk about Jackson State because the standard is the standard. And now, you got to say something about North Carolina Central. You know what I mean? Under Broadway, Trey Oliver. You know what I'm saying? They don't won national championship.
Jerry Mack, right, Coach?
And Jerry Mack had a great year. I don't think he won the national title.
No, they lost to Grambling.
You know what I mean? So and then of course you got to talk about North Carolina A&T with Coach Broadway. Hell, he won one at Grambling and at North Carolina A&T. So in the last 20 years with some of these young cats just now coming on to the scene, hell, you look at A&T, you look at Grambling, you look at North Carolina Central, you look at Jackson State, you look at South Carolina State, I forgot about them, with George Pugh. You can't say Southern necessarily. I can say Southern because I've seen Pete Richardson do it. Not once, but twice. You know what I'm saying? So you can't say your standards are those standards and put that much, again, it comes down to put that much pressure on your coach after 1 year. After 1 year.
Well, Rocky, let me ask you a question.
You could do it, but it's unfair.
Well, I want to ask both of you guys a question, and it goes back to who we had on. With that being said, and how great a person he is, and how much pressure you think is on Coach Eddie Robinson to win a SWAC championship? Do you think? I believe the Alabama State people have that same kind of, hey, we've been knocking on the door.
But do you think they pushing national championship on him?
Well, this is what I'm at. I'm asking you guys. I wanted to hear your opinion on that and see, because last year, again, they were. I don't think people will remember. They were predicted to win the SWAC. They were. It was set up for them technically. And with people looking at what they had, the quarterback and everything, stuff like that. Jack, they did a great job. They ran the table. But what I'm saying is, when you, Coach, to your point, and things start changing, expectations are changing. So do you believe that those guys down at Alabama State, down in Montgomery, are saying, hey, you better be Jack State, you better be FAMU? Now, of course, they're going to say about Alabama A&M, but I'm talking about the team that's going to stop you from getting to the SWAC.
Well, I think there's two things working toward the good of Eddie Robinson. This is just, again, I think he's had winning records the past 3 years. He's beat his arch rival since he's been the head coach 3 consecutive times. And I think this helps out a lot when you talk about last year when you would say they underachieved. In a lot of people's mind, and especially in the fan base of Alabama State, he's a made man at Alabama State. And that makes a difference. That makes a difference. I'm saying this, Coach. If Terrence Graves is put up under those same expectations as a Pete Richardson, and people are disappointed because of that, right? He's not winning national championship. He's not winning conference championships. If he's put up against that same standard, he's going to be criticized unfairly, because I'm going to be honest with you. Terrence Graves is not a made man in Southern.
Well, why has he not, Rock? He just won a conference. He just won, as Coach Green said, he won a division championship. People ain't done that.
Does that make you a made man?
Listen, apparently in Southern.
Hey, he did the exact same thing Dooley did. Where is Dooley? The reports are he's on the beach in Florida somewhere.
He's at Edward Waters. He's the offensive coordinator at Edward Waters.
I just think that, again, when we look at this, and that's why I thought it was fascinating. As somebody that's been around it, and I can always tell when people say, because I can just tell their age. Coach, it's real quick, because they don't have the depth of knowledge, and they go and see what they see. But when I think, let me go to your point, Rocky. I think that is the crux of what is the angst for Southern. It's been so long since they actually have shown some blue blood status, and their counterparts The Grambling have won a Celebration Bowl. FAMU has won a Celebration Bowl. Jack State has won. Hell, Alcorn done went to 3 Celebration Bowls they haven't. That thing burns at them. Okay, listen to the schools I just named that they have to play and interact with. One, their arch rivals, Grambling and Jackson State, played in Celebration Bowls and won it. FAMU, their old school rival, has played and won it. And Alcorn, a new rival when they moved them over. I'm telling you, man, that's a lot to take when it's your fan base.
I agree, Coach, and that's what. And again, this is not a Southern bashing session or anything. I want to say this before we get out. Southern is a great program, and by all accounts, if you look at their entire history, I believe they're a blue blood program. My point is, what are they without Pete Richardson? And that's what we're discussing here. I'm not discussing their status with Pete Richardson. I'm discussing what are they without Pete Richardson. That's all I'm saying. And go ahead, Coach. You and Campbell can have the last word.
Go ahead, Coach Campbell.
Well, I'm going to say this, and this is what's great about this show. Because first of all, we have coaches on here. And we had a coach in
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I heard something in the background. But one of the things that I will say for this season is I think this is Rocket, to your point, this is one of the most important seasons for Southern football. This is a put up or shut up season. And unfortunately, Terrence Graves has got to carry that. The pressure on him and the games that are coming down there to Mumford Stadium. Hey, man, it's amazing. And Coach, I told somebody this. I think I told Scott this. Hey, Coach, you tell me if I'm wrong. Have you ever seen a season where the first game is so important for so many different teams? We're talking about Prairie View. We're talking about FAMU. We're talking about Southern. We're talking about Tennessee State.
North
Carolina Central. How important that very first game, depending on what it is. Even I'll tell you this. I don't think it's on that level, but I think Jack State got to make a statement against Hampton. I think they will, but I think for them to show what it is, I don't think they want that game to be close. I think they want to go and stop Hampton. But this is the first time, Coach, where I said, man, week 0, and well, let's say the first week where everybody played. I can't remember a year that I've said 5 or 6 games might determine the destiny of a team's season.
Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't. I can speak from experience. At Tennessee State, we lost to Middle Tennessee State, which was going to Division I the next year. We ended up losing by a field goal. And then from there, we ran the table for the next 2 years. So we went 21-1 in conference play. So it does it. Sometimes, of course, everybody want to win that opener. As a coach, as a head coach, you want to get that monkey off your back. Because I've been a part of the Order 11 program as well. And so you try to get that monkey off your back. But it is important. And I think it's where you are as a coach, whether you're coming in at your first year, you've been there second year, or you've been there third or fourth. Because some teams, they want a passing game. They want a game that they can go and warm up. Because any football team will make its biggest jump from game 1 to game 2. And after that game 2, you can pretty much start regulating what a team has and how far they're going to go. Because everybody's going to have played by week 3. And then you can really start seeing where some teams is going to break out. So yeah, it's important. Everybody want to win that first one. But it ain't all in all, like, oh man, the season's over. Let's just pack our bags, because a lot's going to happen during the season.
I agree, Coach. Like I said, I think I'm excited. Coach, why don't you tell the people? Can we tell the people who we're gonna have next week coming on, or we got to hold off on that?
No, we could. Well, I'll go through our run. Of course, we had Eddie Robinson Day on Monday. We got Mickey Joseph of Grambling State University on Tuesday. We got Coach Barlow, Reggie Barlow, head football coach at Tennessee State on Wednesday. We got Sean Gibbs, the new head coach at North Carolina A&T. And we still working out with North Carolina Central, Trey Oliver, to get in on his schedule. So the guys are kind of coming in, you know, they kind of seeing what they got, you know, it's like sparring, and then next thing you know, when the game get deep. So we got a lot of guys coming on the show. We got a lot of guys with the lineup. We'll start doing, you know, as Coach Campbell will start lining up. If you want to be on our show and you support a big time or a program, no matter what it is, and you're a big time alumni, we want to start that show as well. And Coach Campbell will be handling that, so you can get in touch with Coach Campbell. It's the coach against the fan. So we're gonna have that segment that Coach Campbell started, the coach against the fan. The fan will come in, of course, talking from the fan point of view. Me and my staff, we're gonna talk from the number point of view. So I think that was a good time we had, and you know, send a shout out to BJ as well as Perry White, man. We loved you guys, man, and we look for you guys to come back. But as we are in our show again, I can't say enough about the people been following us. Guys, we had 2 million followers last year. 2 million people who viewed our show. And so we want to keep pumping it up, keep moving. Want to thank ALW, Al Wash, you know, for his support of the show. Again, we want to thank all our listeners in. I want to send a shout out to Johnnie Thornton, man. Emmett Jones, man, you guys are great. Continue to support us, and thank you. But again, man, if you feel yourself at the end of your rope, you tie a knot and you hold on tight, because ain't nobody as bad